windstorm grazed Kiria's head. He had missed by a hair. If Kiria hadn't twisted her body slightly, that fist would probably have been buried in her face by now. A bitter smile rose to Jessica's face when she saw that her fist strike had failed to land a kill. Just so you know, I didn't try to sucker punch you because I'm a dirty coward. I hoped to end it with a single painless strike before you realized what was happening. Didn't I tell you that I've lived through the hell of jealousy? I've come close to getting stabbed in the back a couple times before. I know how it feels just before a surprise attack. You mean you could sense it? Not, plus the lie you told in the beginning. A lie? Come now. Come now. If you had come from your room after picking up a book and you were on your way back to the guest house, you wouldn't have come through this hallway in that direction. Chessboard theory led me to 7 possible reasons you might have had for lying. And this was the worst case scenario. Oh, Prison Strip! Ciao Andrew! Abbiamo solo fatto il riassunto e abbiamo appena iniziato. Telling a hasty lie to Kiria would only put her on her guard. If Jessica hadn't told that lie, her surprise attack would have succeeded. Not bad. I should have expected that from you, Auntie Kiria. Why me? You were planning to kill me from the beginning. It didn't matter who it was. Just my luck. It's what you have said that gave me the boost I needed. Thanks a lot. What? Kiria dodged the punch, placed her hand against that fist and slammed it against the wall. Ordinarily, being made to punch the wall should have caused Jessica to hurt her own hand and roll around clutching it in pain. However, Jessica's fist had left what looked like a meter-wide crater in the wall. Cosa cazzo? Instead of a look of anguish after smashing her fist against the wall, Jessica clicked her tongue in irritation at having missed. Incredible. I see that you are your father's daughter. Have you taken up boxing too? Impossible. Jessica is bare-handed. She isn't holding any sort of weapon at all. Please, don't resist, Auntie. Just one strike to the head. I promise you won't feel a thing. Kiria tried to look confident, but she couldn't hide her confusion at this unreal destructive force. If that punch had hit, her head probably would have split open like Jessica had said, killing her without any pain. Here I come. Cos'è che ha caricato il braccio? Ha fatto... If Kiria's kick off the ground and leap backward had been an instant slower, her gut would have probably be pulverized. Though she had avoided it by a hair, Jessica's left body blow was followed by a terrible tornado-like gust of wind, which blew Kiria back. La Madonna! Ciao. Is this a dream? Am I still sleeping? I don't understand. This Jessica looked like the normal Jessica, but something was different. It wasn't human, and common sense didn't apply to it. This had to be some kind of nightmare. Kiria slowly stood up. Then she looked at Jessica, noticed the several meters between them, and realized just how far that blast of wind had sent her flying. Feel free to hate me, but just like you, I can't back down. I can't let my love finish half-hearted. What are you talking about? What are you saying? What on earth is going on? Someone, tell me! The air around Jessica seemed to bend like a heat wave. It seemed to be enshrouding her fists, and it seemed as though something like a red magic circle had appeared beneath her feet. She looked just like a western demon standing amidst the flames of hell. Flame upgrade. Mass upgrade. Armor piercing upgrade. Each time Jessica muttered, her fists were surrounded by a pulsating, sinister red light. Si sta abbaffando, letteralmente. Those fists, which were even giving off smoke, surely represented the iron hammers of hell wielded by demons. Goodbye, this is a nightmare. Kiria dashed away with lightning speed. Yes, right now that was the best option. She was smart enough to realize that pinching her cheek wasn't the best way to wake up from this nightmare, and by now this came as no surprise. Oh, Ronove! When Jessica muttered once more, a blood-red magic barrier blocked off the corridor. Kiria slammed into it hard and realized that her path of escape had been cut off. Stop this! This madness! This is a nightmare. It's a nightmare! Let me wake up! Quickly! Yes, this is a nightmare. I'll wake you up from it. Vabbè, I'll wake you up right now if that's what you want. Just one strike. Don't move. Mi piace che stiamo esplorando queste chessboard dentro la chessboard, che sono un po' piccoli frammenti e piccoli universi alternativi dove possiamo immaginare che George e Jessica siano gli assassini, e quindi se Jessica fosse l'assassina si comporterebbe in questo modo. Jessica slowly stepped forwards towards her, enshrouded in flames. Each time her feet lifted off the floor, boiling steam hung around her footprints. This was a true nightmare. Kiria clutched her head in her hands, shaking it over and over again. It's a nightmare, right? This is a nightmare, isn't it? Please tell me it is. Giusto, esattamente, stavo per dirlo io, Giove. È la versione magica, ovviamente non lo farebbe a pugni realmente, però. It is, right? It's a nightmare, right? I'll recognize that. This is a nightmare. I do too. I recognize that this is a nightmare. So please. I'll wake you up. A single punch. È il pugno di Jessica che è. Jessica's neck twisted at an odd angle, and she staggered backwards, her eyes rolled back into her head, as though she didn't have a clue what had just happened. Demon stake was buried at an angle into her forehead. It pulled itself out of her, spun around and became Leviathan and landed. The hole left behind in Jessica's head spewed blood. Leviathan the Avius. Leviathan the Envious, right here. If this is inside a nightmare anyway, why not have the friend that shows up in my nightmares? My friend from from the hell of envy. Thanks for showing up just in the nick of time. It's too early to thank me. She's not down yet. Minchia, ha preso un headshot ma è tranquillissima. Even though she had taken a deep gouge to the top of her head, Jessica just stood there, convulsing and wide-eyed, and didn't fall over. The blood stopped pouring out of her forehead, and her blank, doll-like eyes returned. Then she slowly pressed her own palm against the wound in her forehead. There was a sizzle, as though she had pressed a hot iron against it. It was easy to imagine that she was doing this to seal up the wound. If Kiria didn't escape now, there would never be another chance. Can you defeat her? Impossible. She has a contract with one of the great demons. She's immortal. That is because of love. That is why she's immortal. Oh yes, love is magnificent. Those with our blessings cannot be killed. Can we break the red magic wall? Ronove-sama is also a great demon. There's nothing I can do. Can we escape out of a window? The windows are no good either. They were blocked by Ronove-sama's barrier a while ago. Incredible. Does this mean she sold her soul to demons for the sake of love? How could she make so many contracts with great demons? Oh, I'm so jealous. Armor upgrade. All attribute defense. Counterattack armor upgrade. In response to these words, this time her entire body pulsated with a red light. She had upgraded herself with a defensive power that would ensure Leviathan's attacks would never work again. What is she talking about? Self-augmentation. It's a kind of enchantment. Right now, she has enough defensive power to prevent me from piercing her. And she even has the power to reflect the damage back upon the attacker. She is no longer human. She's a monster. Oh, so that's all. Then not much had changed. How can you say that? It's just like in the very beginning. We still have no chance of winning. That hurt. But I won't work again. Jessica slowly lifted her hand that had been covering her forehead, and there was no longer any hole there. The hole was blocked by barriers in both directions, and even the windows were sealed. There was no way out. Is the door to this room sealed? No, it's just locked. But it's just a normal room. It does have windows, but they have already been sealed. In other words, that's a locked room. Oh, and a coffin for us. Coffin is just what I need. Unlock it. I'm jealous. Why are you the only one who can unlock it? Leviathan's stake flew about at high speeds, ramming itself into the keyhole to our room. The tip of the stake had become the key. And soon it was unlocked. And as soon as it was unlocked, the door flew open. Questa è la stanza di Kraus. Both of them fell into the room and quickly locked it. This was probably Kraus' study. Its soothing furnishing brought about a sense of nobility that Kraus would probably like. Even if you lock it, she can just smash through it with one punch. You just put the lid on your own coffin. However, if she wants to send us a killing blow here inside this coffin, she'll have to take the lid off first. With dim eyes, Jessica tilted her head upon hearing Kirio's words. What are you talking about? How will such a small room be able to protect you? This room may be a locked room, may leave us no method of escape. However, even you can't break into this room. That's what a locked room is. What are you talking about? How does this tiny room with its tiny door make you think you've gotten away from me? With a confused expression on her face, Jessica looked wearily between her own burning fists and the door. Then slowly, she sent that pulsating red light to their fist. She repeatedly enchanted her fist to give them the destructive power for the killing blow. I'll smash this door to bits. If you think you can, give it a try. Responding calmly through the door, which was the only thing separating her from Jessica, Kiria placed a single index finger on it and to hold it shut. Jessica slowly raised a fire-red demonic fist. So long, Auntie Kiria. Jessica's fist slammed into the door in slow motion. It was the same kind of slow motion often seen as a special effect at the climax of a movie. However, this was no special effect. Jessica's fist really was slowing down as though it was being sucked in, like a spoon sinking into a jar of honey. That punch was no longer a punch. It was no more than a knock. Oh no. I'm envious of you. Envy. I crawled through the hell of envy for 18 years because of my arrogance and naivety in love. So I envy you. You're going to remember my warning. Succeed in love and walk a beautiful life, right? Oh, I envy you. You get to live through the most beautiful time in a woman's life for full 18 years longer than I did. I envy you so much. Jessica tried to slam her fist against the wall the door over and over again. However, as soon as her fist approached it, its speed plummeted. She could barely knock, much less smash the door. Speed upgrade. Instantaneous force upgrade. Speed of sound upgrade. It's useless, darling. Break! With full speed upgrades, Jessica's fist moved at the speed of sound, 1,225 kilometers an hour. However, how long had Jessica been in envy to gain that speed? She had started to envy George and Shannon's relationship about 2 years ago. 2 times 365 equals 730 days. 730 days times 24 equals 17,520 hours. However, she wasn't envious all the time. It only happened when Shannon started going on about George, with Shannon shift on about 3 days a week. Come si dice di... come si dice divided? Divided by 7 times 3. It wasn't though she would go on about George all day long. Her fond words for him would only leave a mark on Jessica for about an hour. So only 1/24 of each day. 17,520 divided by 7 times 3 divided by 24 equals 322. Scusate, 312, rounded down. The number of hours that Kiria had been jealous was 157,680. In other words, this was a scant 0.2% of the time that Kiria had been jealous. Even 1,225 kilometers an hour, the speed of sound, becomes only 2.45 kilometers an hour in the 1 in 500 world. Understand? You're lacking both in love and envy. Even Jessica's sonic fists were no faster than a walking child in Kiria's world. Jessica ground her teeth as her fist still pressed against the door. If someone could have seen this from both sides of the door, it would have looked as though Kiria was holding it shut with a single finger. È vero, Luke. Way to go, Kiria. See? This room is a locked room. At most, Jessica-chan can knock on the door, but she can't lay a finger on us inside. Beatrice's definition of a locked room. What the hell? Then this locked room will be somewhat troublesome. It is impossible for a human to carry out a locked room murder. Only magic can do that. Until you truly understand magic, you will not be able to break through it. You can't corner me any further. As time passes, the relatives will eventually realize that I haven't returned, and they'll start searching the mansion. And then you will be observed. Witches and magic alike disappear when they're observed. The nightmare is already over, darling. Oh, I can't believe Jessica is going to drop out all of a sudden. Oh, please, keep it your all. Do it for your beloved canon. Come, Jessica, believe in love and let us see a miracle. Let me make a correction. There isn't even any need to wait for time to pass. After all, there's an extension telephone right here. Of course, the internal phone line hasn't been cut. I'll just pick up the receiver. Perché l'ha detto così? Ora prendo una patatina e me la mangio. This is my checkmate. Construction completed. Locked room murder. Oh. Yes, that is valid. Permeation upgrade. Attack transmission. Indirect attack power upgrade. Jessica's fist, which had pressed against the door, glowing red and then white hot. È la Madonna. Jessica didn't even swing her fist. She just kept it pressed against the door. However, Jessica's murder reached inside the locked room. Through the cracks in the study door, through the keyhole burst the flames of hell. Jessica couldn't see what was happening inside the room. However, even here, on the other side of the door, she could tell that the flames of hell had swallowed the entire room. Kiria's smoldering death throes could be heard from across the door. Jessica clearly heard as Kiria danced and danced. Jessica clearly heard as Kiria danced a dance of death amidst the hellfire, fell to her knees and slumped over the floor. Slowly, Jessica tore her burning fist away from the door. If you love the hell of envy so much, then burn. Burn in the flames of envy for all time. There are probably some things that can be learned from envy. However, it's nothing to be praised, and it's no one's duty. It seems you were too proud after all, Auntie Kirie. Brava Jessica! Nel senso, non per averla uccisa, ma brava perché ha completato il suo trial. A splendid locked room murder. Could you take care of the mess? I care for her body to be burned to a crisp when it's finally found. You think you could clean it up? As you wish, milady. Ronove transformed into a gold butterfly and entered Krau's study through the keyhole. Then he had to cross his arms and think about how he should even start cleaning up Kirie's unrecognizable corpse, and this room had ended up as a burning hell. Ed è tornata normale con gli occhi almeno. Jessica finally let out the breath that she had been holding down in her chest. Her normal human glint finally returned to her eyes, and then she couldn't help but shudder at what she had done. Even if it had been just a trial on the game board for the sake of her love. Is that what you wanted, demons? Yes! Well done, Jessica! Your love is the real deal! George welcomed Jessica with a crisp applause. Beato timidly tried to join him, but Jessica yelled at them and then she stopped. It's just something that happened on the game board. There's no need to look sad about it. I know that logically, but still, how am I supposed to just accept it emotionally? Lady. Canon-kun. I love you. I can't give up. That's why I've shown how strong my feelings are. I didn't do something wrong, did I? I'm not wrong, am I? No, really not. Lady. As Jessica started to sob, Canon held her quietly, and he realized that he would have to carry on the determination she had shown him. You didn't make any mistake, and it also isn't a mistake to keep your human heart and be sad. I just happen to be a bit more of a stoic when it comes to that sort of thing. Not everyone can match up to George-sama's level. But in any event, you have completed your trial, milady. E adesso cos'è? Tocca a Beatrice? Well done. I admire the strength of your determination. Very true. Both George and Jessica have splendidly succeeded just the same. Very impressive, Jessica. That locked room murder just now was wonderful enough to fascinate even a witch like myself. Jessica had used magic to kill Kirie, who had holed up inside a closed room. In that instant, Jessica had constructed a locked room murder, had it acknowledged by the demons, and raised it to the level of magic. The trials of the two of you had been completed. So then, who will take the next challenge? Will it be Beatrice-sama? No, it might be Shannon. Ah, ok, devono farlo anche gli altri. Ma quindi a un certo punto dovrà arrivare anche Butler? No, this has to be Canon's time to shine. Come, speak up. Who is next? Who will take the next trial? That witch would hesitate at committing murder on the game board. Even excess shyness can kill love. Who will be the next to carry out a murder of love? The three who remained looked at each other. If the other two are going to spend a few more moments hesitating to raise their hands, I raise my own instead. All three thought this at the same time, so they all raised their hands at the same time. The ones they loved had already shown their determination. They had to carry on. Oh, ed è finito il capitoletto. Ma state veramente dicendo questo? È ovvio che era una magia. The fate of those who do not fight. A mezzanotte. Rosa could be seen in the parlor. It seemed that the relatives all wanted to be alone now that they had dispersed for a short break. Since everyone had avoided the parlor, the obvious place for people to gather, Rosa was able to have this relaxing and comforting room all to herself. That didn't mean she looked relaxed. Her expression was heavy with gloom and weariness. The cup of black tea that she had brought from the dining hall had gone stone cold. Comforting silence. Now that no one else was inside, Rosa's heart finally awoke. She was always treated like a kid in the conferences with her three siblings. She had no influence at all, but possibly because of that, she was apparently considered to be a neutral party. The siblings would often ask for her agreement, sometimes even treating her like an adjudicator or a judge. I have to make use of that, enter the discussion in the direction I want. I have to find almost 100 million yen by March. That was supposed to be my great commitment, a burden I bore to help support his business. Now, I'm not sure anymore. If I can pay off the debt, will he call me again? Coming toward the end. But you can forget it. Even if you do contact me after all this time, I'll be the one turning you down. But still, you are Maria's father, you know? Please come here and see her, if just once. Love is quite a difficult thing to stick to, isn't it? Huh? Who? Though no one should have been in the parlor, someone suddenly spoke to Rosa and she jumped. Then, just when had it happened? Canon could be seen standing there, even considering that she had been deep in thought, to think that she hadn't noticed him at all. You scared me. Sorry, I was thinking so hard that I didn't notice you. Need something? No. The reason you are currently in pain is because of love, Rosa-sama. Am I wrong? That's sudden. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Maria-sama's father asked you to be the co-signer of a loan, and you accepted. What a troublesome kid. You were listening to Kraus Nissan from the hallway, weren't you? True, earlier this day in this very room, Kraus had seen through the fact that Rosa was bearing a massive debt because she had become a co-signer of a loan. However, she hadn't said that her partner had been Maria's father. Why did Canon know so much? You are a very wise person, Rosa-sama. You wouldn't have become a co-signer without thinking carefully about the consequences. I hadn't yet moved to his family register, but I thought of the man I would soon marry as my partner. If he couldn't borrow the money without my name, I figured that helping me out was my responsibility as his future wife. And did that future ever come? No, it hadn't. So afterwards, Rosa was always alone, and Maria never had a father. However, time moved on. Maria, who should have been a symbol of their union, just kept growing, almost like a living hourglass measuring the length of the hell Rosa crawled through. Because of that, Maria's growth hurt. It's just a cruel joke. I tried to forget that man several times. But you know, forgetting him doesn't get rid of that debt. It was only natural, and so, whether or not she forgot her love, she had to do all she could to pay that money back. But you know, I also think of it this way. If I can manage to pay everything off, it'll mean that I've passed the trial of love that he gave me. If I have to pay off my debt anyway, how can I abandon my reward, the love I could gain as a result, before it's over? Don't you think I could put off thinking about that until after I paid it all back? It may have been a trick of words that only those who have suffered through love could understand. Even Rosa vaguely realized that she might have been deceived. However, if she was able to succeed in paying back the loan, she might acknowledge her usefulness as a wife. When that happened, she might be able to regain her love. But if she had already abandoned that love, then what? This debt, this trial that had been given to her, would become completely meaningless. Yes, for her, the debt itself appeared to be a trial of love. In fact, the very fact that she looked at it in that way might have been her blindness due to love, as well as proof that she still hadn't cast off her infatuation with the past. Even now, she still suffered, and the suffering would continue, at least until she paid back the massive loan and let a good deal of time pass after that. Until she could finally lay her feelings to him to rest. Could this be the hell Kirie-sama spoke of? Probably, though I'm not sure what you're talking about. There's no doubt that my world has been a total hell. And how can that be put to an end? Who knows? If anyone did, the disease called love would never eat into anyone again. That disease is a serious one. It sometimes eats into a person for their entire life, spreading to and hurting the people closest to them. That disease was torturing her now as much as it ever had. Well, since you brought up Kirie-san, her story is like an inspiration to me, or a dream. Though she had her man stolen from her, she persevered for 18 years. She never fell to despair and instead continued to support Rudolf, lying in wait for a miracle. Maria is still only 9 years old. I've only waited for the first half of Kirie's-san 18 years. If I gave up after just this, she would laugh at me. Do you think that a miracle will occur in another 9 years? Doubting that would be the end of me. Doubting that would be the end of me. In a sense, I am a ghost. I'm already dead. I'm just living on without noticing. A ghost waiting for eternity for a person who will never come. That's right. That day when I naively said that I wanted to support his dream, I was probably already dead. I guess that really was a regretful day in the end. I have dreams. I want to go overseas. I'll fly out of this tiny country, make it big, and come back to you. That takes me back. At that time, I thought of lovers as a pair of people willing to acknowledge the other's radical dreams. I'd become a successful designer, announcing my newest lines in Paris, getting jolted by the press. He loved to talk about that dream, and I loved listening to him. When I think about it, I really had my head in the clouds during that strange time. We both lifted the other up, as though we were drifting about in the air. So when he said that he wanted to get out of Japan, I applauded him and promised to support him. Acknowledging each other's great dreams and might never be is a standard sort of pillow talk for lovers. But once they started to translate into actual action, from that point on I should have been serious and practical. For a long time I felt proud of letting him go on that day. No, I still do. But you still regret it. That's right. If on that day I had sobbed and pleaded for him to stay, I might not have fallen into hell. Did seeing him off with a smile really make me a winner? Of course not. I basically lost by default by refusing to fight when the time came. I only glorified that loss, saw him off with a smile as he went to take on the world overseas, and became intoxicated with the fantasy that there was some brave woman waiting patiently for her daughter for her man's return. Even though he never called me once after that, and the mail sent to the address he gave me came back, forwarding address unknown. Where I am right now is hell. A hell where I'll regret until the day I die that I didn't fight when I was meant to. I've even dragged my daughter into hell with me. I wish someone would just kill me. I want to be told that I've already been killed, that I'm a ghost. In love, if you do not fight, you fall into hell. Yes, love is a fight. You will win and gain, or lose and die. But please, have no fear of death. After all, it is a peaceful sleep. What is truly terrifying is the hell that finds the unsleeping ghosts who could never win nor die. Then that hell has no end. The battle of love is its cruelest to those who could neither win nor die. So in love, you've got to go for broke. Dying in battle is better than the alternative. Ho capito, mettendolo sotto il punto di vista dell'amore, effettivamente capisco quello che dicono. Meglio combattere, far uscire le proprie emozioni, parlare, affrontare il problema head on, e nel caso la cosa vada male, la relazione finisce, piuttosto che essere insicuri per il resto della tua vita, pensando e se avessi fatto questo, se a quel punto mi fossi fatto avanti, come sarebbero andate le cose. E quindi se va bene, se va male almeno ci hai provato, piuttosto che non agire. They say the most torturous toxin for a human is made from rotting love. That suffering it brings exceeds the tortures of the most twisted hells. She said this as a warning to motivate her double and little sister, encouraging her to take on any trial, no matter how severe.
わかります。
I understand. After all, when my desire to have butler's son one day accept me wells up in my chest, I can feel the seed that resides there.
その種を
It is up to me to kill that seed or to make it
死な
bud.
せるも自由。でもそのま
But
ま
if I
胸の
let it
中で
rot
腐らせ
here
れ
in
ば
my chest, its poison
きっと
will
その毒は
surely torment me forever.
私を永遠に苛む。それこそが
And that,
我ら千
even
年
for
の魔女を
us
しても最も
thousand-year-old
恐
witches,
れる世界で
is
一
the
番
most
恐ろしい
terrifying torture in the world.
見届けよ
Behold what happens to those who make light of love.
このローザの
This
地獄
hell
こ
of
そが
roses
恋の種
is
を
what
めぐらせる
happens
勇
to
気を
those who do
持
not
つ
possess the courage to make the seed of love bud and instead allow it to rot.
その苦しみは
One
自
cannot
分の
end
手では終わらせられない
one cannot end that pain by their own hands. La spadata. Huh? Just now, what was that red light?
失礼しました。
My apologies.
何
What? Just now I thought I saw something strange. I wonder if I'm tired or it's probably just my imagination. Rosa picked up her cup of cold tea, and when she did, she saw a small red rose petal floating on on its surface. A rose.
そのソファーは
I've heard that
Rosa様
in
が
your
幼少の頃
youth
好んで横
you
になられ
love
た
to
と聞い
lie
てお
on
りま
that
す。
sofa. It wasn't a rose petal, it was a drop of blood that had fallen from Rosa's eyes. In an instant, Canon had beautifully and precisely cut just a single thread of Rosa's life. There was no wound on Rosa's body. There were only the few drops of blood that dripped down from her eyes. Her pain and her certainties and her worries were all gone now. Slowly, she collapsed onto the sofa and lay there. That had been one of her most blissful habits during the most blissful time of her life.
おやすみなさいませ。
Sleep well,
ローザ様、
Rosa-sama.
あなたの地獄は
Your
今
hell has ended.
終わりました。
Canon took a blanket out of the cupboard and gently covered Rosa with it. He would have looked to anyone just as though Rosa was sleeping peacefully. Those demons had not exaggerated when speaking of love as a battle and a trial. In fact, although cruel, this could have been even be said to be the most honest reflection of reality, in the sense that it made no attempt to hide the fact that to lose in love is to die.
これで
Now,
僕の能力は
my
終わり
part
だ。
is
見
complete.
届けたか。
Were you watching,
Atmadomo.
demons? Oh, che cazzo di spavento!
しまった。
Oh no!
よくもママを殺したな。
How could you kill Mama?
よくもママを殺したな。
One of the two great witches of mariage sorcière, Maria, though she was just an apprentice, the power sleeping within her had impressed even Beatrice at the height of her strength. In Maria's eyes, though Rosa was the Black Witch, she was also the vessel of the mother she couldn't help but love. Her anger at having that stolen from her was near madness.
よくもママをママをママをママを。
Maria incazzata. How could you do that to mama? To mama, to mama, to mama. Vabbè. Maria's attack was too emotional. Because of this, she didn't notice that Canon had already disappeared in the span of a few short moments. And she released her barrage at what had become empty space. In the meantime, Canon jumped from wall to wall around to Maria's back. Huh? I want to kill past my quota. I will defend myself. Oh, barriera viola. Oh, Santaro. No. What are you? Diplomatic immunity. I won't let you target Maria or me. Damn! The red trailing sword that extended from Canon's hand dissipated in an instant. He managed to make it reappear, but when he tried to use it on Maria and Sakutaro again, it vanished once more. Because of Sakutaro's power, he was unable to make either of them the target of his attacks. There you are. Since when have you been there? I won't let anyone bully Marika. Marika? È arrivata Maria. Perché dove è uscita Marika? Scusate, sto giocando troppo del Elden Ring. I won't let anyone bully Maria. Damn it. Maria finally noticed where Canon was and she slowly turned around. Canon made his sword materialize yet again. But no matter how often he tried, he kept fading out like a flashlight with a bad battery. I won't let you get away now. I won't forgive you for the sin of stealing Mama away. I'll kill you, just like Mama killed them. I'll kill you without mercy. As Maria howled, the entire parlor was surrounded by a cube of red magic barriers. It was a locked room symbolizing a barrier that Canon could never escape. Damn it! Not here! Canon cursed his bad luck. Even though he had fulfilled his goal in the demon's trial, if he was killed here, he'd be dragged off of the game board. Maria, don't overdo it. Yes, I won't overdo it. I'll be a little more gentle than Mama was. Oh. Bella anche questa. Unyu! Who is it? Pardon me, Maria-sama. In accordance with the contract with Zephyr-sama and Fufu-sama, I come for your life. Oh no! Surna! Shannon, can't get in my way! It's pointless, Shannon. No one can target Maria. Yes, I don't intend to target her in any way. I will simply protect myself. A cylindrical red magic barrier surrounded Shannon as she stood in the center of the parlor. Its brightness and thickness grew, and its radius quickly expanded, filling up the room. It wasn't targeting Maria. Shannon was wielding this power to protect herself, so Sakutaro's power didn't make it disappear.
お嬢様への気持ち
Are you going to let this be the ruin of your feelings for me, lady?
しっかりなさい
Get a hold of yourself. By now, the shield with Shannon at the center had covered up the entire room. Its power crushed Maria and Sakutaro into the corner of the room. Ironically, this was the locked room barrier Maria had set up to prevent Canon from escaping. That they were pressed against, and the two together had them completely trapped. No good. Can't escape. That's right. This is a locked room. This might be just perfect for the wannabe detective who's trying to deny Beato's magic.
チェックメイトです
Checkmate,
マリア様
Maria-sama.
よろしいですか
May I?
いい
Yeah,
よ
go ahead.
潰して
Crush me.
それでは
Then,
これにて
goodbye. The center of the room was filled with the red light of the shield, and the output and pressure were raised to their limits. Then, crushed between the shield and their own locked room barrier, Maria and Sakutaro lost their forms, scattered into a spray of gold, and disappeared.
ありがと
Thank
う。ここで消えるわけ
I
にはいか
couldn't
ない
afford to disappear here.
こんなとこで負けてたら
If you lost in a place like
諦めが
this,
つかないもの
you'll never be able to let it go.
そうさ。
You're
こん
right.
なとこで負け
I
てた
could never let it go if I
諦め
lost in
ら
a
れない
place like this.
ゼパル様
Zepar-sama,
Furfur-sama.
Furfur-sama,
私たちも共
we
に
have both
試練を終え
finished
ま
our
した
trial.
これでよろしいです
Is
か
that satisfactory?
いや
Well,
本当に
that
お見事
was
だね
truly splendid.
二人とも
A
文句なし
faultless
だったよ
performance from the both of you.
では最後は
Then, shall we finish with Beatrice's turn?
おや
Oh, where did she go?
もちろん彼女の
To
選
the
んだ
victim she
生
had
贄のところにさ
chosen, of course. To the victim she had chosen, of course. E chi sarà?
さあ
Come, let us go there as well. Natsui could be seen in her room. Kraus instructed her to retire for the night, but she couldn't afford to lie around sleeping on an important day like this. However, she was aware that she was the type to get excited easily, and that this sometimes held her husband back. So, though she didn't like it one bit, there was no way around it. It was probably close to the time for the break to end and the family conference to begin once again in the dining hall. Her husband would have to protect the Ushiramiya family's honor from his greedy siblings all by himself. If she grew emotional by his side, she would just tie him down, though she knew that quietly waiting here was the best way she could support him. That didn't make the waiting any easier. Natsui opened a drawer and took out a small box that she kept her treasures in. This was her secret box. Inside was everything from valuable items to mere odds and ends. However, they were all precious, memorable treasures in Natsui's eyes. She pulled a small pouch out of the box. She emptied its contents onto her palm. It was a kind of charm that her birth family had given her when she had married. It was a spirit mirror to ward off evil. Her face was reflected in the mirror. She wasn't as young as she once was. Recently, she had begun to see a bit of her parents and grandparents in her own face. So when she stared at her reflection in the mirror like this, she felt as though her soul had returned to the side of her parents and the family she had been born into.
お父様
Father,
お母様
mother,
夏日が不勉強な
I
方
cannot support my husband,
夫の
and
支
I
えに
have
な
only
ります
myself to blame. Of course, her face in the mirror did not answer. However, Natsui continued.
夫を愛している
Am
から
I
こそ
waiting here alone
私は
because...
ここで待っていま
No,
す
I am waiting here alone because I love my husband. However, I think
愛は寄り
love
添うもの
means
と
being
私は
close to
思っ
one
てしまい
another.
ますここでこうしている
Though
の
I
は
understand
一番の協
logically
力にな
that
る
staying here is the
理屈
best
では
way
分
I
かってい
can
るの
help
に
him,
そんな自分
I
に
still feel
真面目
wretched
さを
for
感じ
doing
て
it.
しまうのです辛いですね
It's tough, isn't it? Waiting for the sake of love. A tear plopped onto the mirror. Old dear memories of her at her parents' house rose up inside her. Now was the time for her to follow her parents' example. When her father came home late, her mother would always sit up straight, waiting for him, prepared for him to arrive at any moment. She would always wait for him, kneeling in the entrance hall, and no matter how late he came home, she would always wake up all her children and line them up to greet him. At the time, I only thought of her as being exceptionally strict, but at this age I can finally understand how strong she was, persevering in her love for her beloved husband even after being left alone in charge of the house.
その夫への愛ゆえに
Because of your love for your
見
husband,
知らぬ赤子を
you
抱かさ
couldn't
れる
bear
の
to
が
be made to take
許されな
care
かった
for an
のです
unfamiliar child. Beatrice, vabbè, che Beatrice che parla È possibile che abbia ricordi anche Vabbè, vediamo che cosa dice. Because of your love for your husband, you couldn't bear to be made to take care of an unfamiliar child. The sudden voice made Natsui jump up and look about the room. When she did, there stood a Western lady wrapped in an extravagant dress. Who are you? Natsui was confused. There was no one like this in the mansion. However, though this was supposedly her first time meeting with this person, it felt as though she had seen her somewhere before. Her anger at the ruffian who had snuck into her private room, and her confusion over the appearance of someone she didn't know caused her mind to go blank. So much so that it took quite a bit of time before she realized that this was the witch of the portrait.
あなたが19年
Though
前
you
の話
murdered a baby you didn't know on that day 19 years ago, I won't hold that sin against you.
何の
What are you
話ですか
talking about? Beato had chosen Natsui as her sacrifice. It was because of what Natsui had done to Butler. Beato didn't know how much about the details of Butler's birth. However, after discovering the fragment of the previous game, she had learned that there was a chance that Butler was the baby that Natsui had pushed off a cliff 19 years ago. Although that was just a blue wedge that Butler had used to protect Natsui from being framed, Beato thought it might have been a confession from Butler himself. And if that was the case, to her, Natsui was an enemy who probably forced Butler to live a painful life.
夫への愛ゆえに
It was out of love for your husband that you killed that baby who liked his blood.
私は愛ゆえに
And
問い
it's
ます
out of love that I won't hold it against you.
何の話か
I don't have a clue what you're talking about.
出てって
Get out.
ここは
This
私
is
の
my
部屋
room.
ならば
Therefore,
私の愛ゆ
when
え
I kill you for the sake of
あな
my
たを
love,
殺すこともま
please
た
don't hold that against me
問わない
either.
でください
Beato slowly stuck out her arms and with both hands, she squeezed the air in front of her. That squeeze tightened around Natsui's throat. Natsui's heels lifted off the ground and a faint purple hand shape appeared around her throat. Natsui frantically scratched at her throat, trying to stop whatever was strangling her, but there was nothing there. So, to an outsider, it just looked as though Natsui was standing on her toes in anguish, scratching at her own throat. Sta andando troppo tranquillo. Both a pair of lovers have shown their determination. Both pairs of lovers... Mamma mia! Both pairs of lovers have shown their determination. I don't think that my feelings for Butler-san are inferior to theirs. Just as I won't blame you for your sin of 19 years ago, I won't blame myself for this sin. As Natsui twisted in agony, something she had been grasping fell from her grip. It rolled over to Beato, who dropped her gaze to see what it was. It was Natsui's spirit mirror. When Beato peered into it, there was a loud crack, like a burst of electricity. That sound released Natsui from the invisible hands and made Beato topple backwards like a doll. Coughing, Natsui tried to comprehend what was going on around her. Beato, whose head was still reeling and foggy as though she had hit it against something hard, slowly attempted to get to her feet. Her eyes were bewildered, as though even she didn't really understand what had happened. What? What is it? What is this? That is surprising. You could touch spider webs without trouble, but you cannot handle the spirit mirror? Even I don't have a clue what's happening. What in the world? She had thought that only Beato the Elder possessed non-human weak points, such as getting burned by spider webs, N-words, and having her power sealed by spirit mirrors. However, for some reason, this spirit mirror alone could apparently affect her as well. Even she couldn't understand what about the spirit mirror could have such an overpowering effect on her. But Natsui was different. She instantly realized that the reason for hesitation of this unearthly being, this witch of the portrait, had to be the power of the mirror. So, she rapidly crawled across the floor and picked up the mirror. Then she stuck it out so that Beato could see it. Beato still didn't fully understand what was happening, so, still sitting down, she looked vacantly at it. And this time, both of them understood the situation completely. Beato realized that the mirror was working some hateful power against her, and Natsui realized that the spirit mirror had the power to repel witches. Why is the mirror? It is because you are an evil witch. This miraculous spirit mirror repels all creatures of evil. Don't point it don't point it at me. With the spirit mirror still held out, Natsui cautiously closed the gap between them. She was cautious so as to prevent the witch from suddenly lashing out and stealing the mirror, but she steadily moved forward to corner this evil. I do not know who you are. All I know is that you tried to kill me, and that you are a creature of evil who cowers before the spirit mirror. This spirit mirror. Be gone, evil one! Beato didn't understand what was happening herself. She didn't know why she had to fear the spirit mirror. However, when she tried to look at the bright light let off by the spirit mirror, it pierced her eyes. She understood that she had to be afraid, even if she didn't understand why. By now, Beato realized that this spirit mirror was both terrifying and harmful. As he came closer to her, to her, she felt as an increasingly strong burning sensation over her whole body, as though someone was approaching her with a hot iron. She couldn't even open her eyes because of the mirror's bright, painful glint. Now, return to whence the... Mi fa morire come parla, come minaccia queste creature dell'altro mondo, Natsui. Now, return to the world whence you came, wicked one. Ushirami Natsui will not falter at a single step to evil. It's no use. Why? Why is this musty mirror so... If I lose here, I'll be the only one to fail this trial. Just like George-san and Shannon-san and Jessica-san and Canon-san, I want Butler-san to see value in me and treasure me. I've finally managed to admit that, so I can't fail now. Are you giving up? You and only you? Believe! The miracle of love will surely occur. I love Butler-san. I want him to notice me. I want him to recognize and accept my feelings. My reason for calling him father, as I dedicated myself to him, was that no one helps a parent accepting something in return, and that helped me come to terms with getting nothing back. It was a deception to fool myself with. I love Butler-san. I want him to recognize that. I admit it. I won't hide from it any longer. I was born to love Butler-san and to have him love me back. So, can't afford to lose here. Be gone, wicked one! There is no place for you here. Her determination had come too late. If she had possessed it since the beginning, she would probably have finished off Natsui on the spot without any hesitation. Because she had wavered, it had taken time to kill Natsui, and things had ended up like this. But now I am resolved. I want to love Butler-san. I want him to love me. So, I can't lose here, because I was born for Butler-san's sake. Yes, that is exactly what we wanted to hear. Following a sound like a beetle banging off the walls in the room, the spirit mirror was knocked out of Natsui's outstretched hand and fell onto the floor, and the stake flying around the room pierced through it with a crash. Lucifer the Proud, right here. You dare mock me by having a single old mirror as the first target in so long? Beatrice-sama, you must complete your trial. She'll get away. Someone! Help me! Now that the spirit mirror she had been relying on had been smashed and another strange demon had been added to the fold, Natsui could do nothing but run from it. However, if Natsui made a scene and people gathered, the anti-magic toxin would burn Beato. Now was Beato's last chance. Thank you, Lucifer-san. Prepare yourself. Natsu. Once again, Beato choked the empty air. This time, she wouldn't let her escape. She had to end Natsui's pain right away, for her sake, if nothing else. But her strength wasn't enough. While scratching at her throat, Natsui fought to escape the room, her shaking hand outstretched out to the lock on the door. A locked room is one of the definitions that makes a witch, so even unlocking the door would strengthen the anti-magic toxin a little. Since Beato was at her limit even within the locked room, if Natsui undid that lock, Beato's power would weaken immediately and Natsui would surely escape into the hallway. Their strengths were matched. However, Natsui's began to surpass Beato's slightly. The power of the living to live is fundamentally stronger than the power of magic. Of course, Beato was mastering all her might. However, Natsui was just slightly stronger.
十分だ。
That's enough.
ルシファー、やれ。
Lucifer, do it.
ギョイ
As you wish. Lucifer transformed into a stake and, like the time she had smashed Natsui's spirit mirror, flew violently around the room. Then, struck Natsui's forehead. Natsui crumpled slowly. When Beato saw this, she also fell to her knees, breathing hard.
ねえゼパル
Say, Zephyr,
これってありな
does
の
this count?
Beatrice
Beatrice didn't complete the trial by her own strength alone.
そうだねフル
You
フル
raise a good point, Furfur.
確かに試練は
True, this
誰の助
trial
けも
must be
借りずに
accomplished
成し遂げ
without
なくては
borrowing
な
the
らない
power, the help of any other.
でもね
But
ひょっとしたら
maybe there are
それには例
exceptions to
外があるん
that.
じゃないかしら
愛する二人は
After all,
互いで
a
一人
pair
な
in
もの
love are as one.
これは
This is not outside assistance.
バトラさん
Son,
たかだか第一の番
did you
から
really have to scare me like that on the first twilight?
お前は
申し訳ございません
Forgive
追
me.
いつけを
I didn't follow your instructions.
追いつけ
Instructions?
その
Well, I didn't stay in my
部屋で
room.
おとなしくしていなくて
Beato hung her head apologetically. When he saw this, Butler scratched his head uncomfortably. In that case, I should apologize too.
言葉を選ばな
I
い
should have been more kind.
いいえ
No,
お父様
I mean, Butler son, you did nothing wrong.
何も悪いことはありません
いいぜ
It's okay. Call me whatever you like. Huh? Butler had always looked at the new Beatrice sternly. However, that was gone from his expression now.
確かに
True, the old you may have just called me Butler. At first, I might try to force you to speak me. Madonna.
押し付けていた
At first, I might have tried to force you to speak to me that
し
way.
かし
But forcing that on
そん
you
なのに
is
意味はない
pointless.
お前はベアトだ
You are Beato, but you're
お前
yourself.
はお前だ好きに呼べばい
You
い
can call me whatever you want.
バトラさん
そうだな
Sure, that
その
works
呼び
great.
方がいいなさすが
Can
に
say
お父
being
様
called father is really my
俺の
favorite. Lo sapevo che doveva metterla da qualche parte. Gino, non è nei miei kink. Non sono più un tipo da chiamare lei mommy piuttosto che lei mi chiami daddy. Sai com'è? C'è un po' questa cosa. Beatrice ha risvegliato in me quando alla fine di episodio 2 mi ha fatto camminare nudo al guinzaglio in mezzo a una stanza piena di streghe. Non riesco più a tornare indietro da quel momento. Yes. Until this point, she had hesitated to say Butler's name at all. Even if she had known that Butler wanted her to say his name without honorifics, that would have been beyond her right now. And even if she had been able to call him that, doing so could have hurt Butler even more. However, now she was allowed to call Butler by his name. If you just looked into her eyes, there would be no need to describe just how happy this made her feel. I heard from Zepar and Fufur. It looks like you're in the middle of some bizarre game. Yes. I'm sorry for doing this without asking. No, it's fine. I never did know what you were going to do next. Getting up to antics like this is really like you. And well, I've heard about the intent of the game. Apparently, you're supposed to tackle it as a pair. Oh, cute butler. Yes, that is correct, Lord Butler. If you can emerge from our trial victorious, we will bless the pair of you and bestow a miracle of magic upon you. Looks like these guys were the one giving power to Beato's golden butterfly brooch. So they've proven to produce results. We've been stuck with each other for a long time now. Nothing wrong with playing this sort of game every now and then. Oh, did you hear that, Furfur? It looks like Butler. Madonna. It looks like Lord Butler is joining in as well. That's no surprise. After all, we've known since the beginning. Welcome to our trial, Lord Butler. Who will your sacrifice be? My work is already done. Go ahead and check if you want. Very well, Lord Butler. Come, Furfur. Let us go check. Yes, let's. But Zepar, this means that all 6 lovers have completed the trial. What should we do next? The resolve of all 6 is the real deal. Let us then test them further in our next trial. The 2 noisy demons disappeared. It seems that they had left to go check on the sacrifice Butler had killed. But it seemed that they had done so in order to not bother Butler and Beato, who could finally look at each other in the eye and talk. Oh. What do you think of the tale so far? When suddenly asked this question, ENG immediately came to her senses. Then, realizing that she had become immersed in this woman's tale, she felt a bit defeated and tried to look displeased. You've clearly tried to mix things up with all this about the love trial, but exactly 6 people have died setting up the first Twilight. Impressive. Oh, you're right. I didn't realize. Però, aspetta. Sono in game board differenti, non sono loro. Mi sembra che ci sia stato detto abbastanza chiaramente. Amakusa clapped his hands as though he'd been outsmarted. Even though he'd figured it out before me, he played the fool. That's simply because the number of lovers just happened to be 6. The fact that it matched the number of the first Twilight was half coincidence, half design. It's a bit more interesting that way. Feels more like fate. Humans have that bad habit of taking 2 meaningless phenomena and trying to link them together. Trying to make things seem like fate is a trick of books. I guess you aren't a fan of destiny and miracles, Missy. They're like UFOs. Everyone knows about them, but no one has ever seen them. That's a cool metaphor. So, normally I would move right along at this point, my only comment being that love and illusions are unnecessary, useless scenes for a mystery story. But Okonogi-san disagreed with that way of thinking. He thought that by looking at things without love that way, the truth could never be reached. You mean President Okonoki's killer phrase? Ai ga nakereba mienai. Without love, it cannot be seen. Yeah, that. If I were to set aside the anger I feel towards this fictional murder of my family, and speak with respect for you as the one who wrote this tale, I'd say there must be some point to this depiction. After all, you used up all of these pages talking about love and trials. In other words, those are the themes and keywords of this tale. Oh, and there are many who claim that all words not written in red ink are not worth reading. It is an honor, child of man, that you have read the black letters as well. Stories are written because the writer has something they want to communicate, and some writers feel that it is unrefined to lay everything out too directly. All of this about how you'll never reach the truth without love has shown up many times in the works before this one. This new work makes that even more striking. It means that there is the one thing. It means that is the one thing that the writer wanted to tell the most. The thing that they want the reader to think about the most. Without mamma mia. Thinking about it, there have been many scenes about love since Beato first appeared. Even when she first appeared before Shannon, she spoke clearly about how love was the single element of the world. And the golden butterfly brooch she gave her was also an item for love. She said that she enjoyed sowing seeds of love and watching complications arise, and when Shannon stopped borrowing her power, the reason for her argument was also love. After Beato's interaction with Butler started up in full, scenes about love were toned down for a while, but the "without love it cannot be seen" definition of magic was mentioned repeatedly. Then, in the tale right before this one, where Beato had become like a doll, scenes shown made it seem almost as though Butler and Beato accepted each other as adversaries, or possibly something more. And in the end, Butler regained some kind of memory and his impression of Beato underwent a complete change. And then there's this entire game. From the beginning and throughout, the word love has been repeated over and over and over again. The tale you wrote keeps talking about love. However, that's not the assertion of Maria Onechan or Beatrice. It's the assertion of Achiyo Toya. Correct. That is what I wanted to tell. And it is my own sort of answer. Answer? You're saying the entire incident of 12 years ago was caused by a trial of love started by strange demons? It's ridiculous. I didn't come here to read a romance novel you wrote. What I want to know about is the truth you claim to have reached. Foolish child of man. I have exhausted so many words and yet you still do not understand? With an obviously condescending gaze, Achiyo shrugged. It was clear that she was trying to provoke Enge. She was probably hinting, if you can't stand talking with me, you can get out. Perhaps even if you're going to read my noble work and fail to understand it, when, what's more, not even try, you can get out of that reason as well. For that reason as well. Under normal circumstances, Enge would already have thrown a fit and left. However, Enge couldn't do that. Though she found it sickening that a stranger was playing around with her family's fate in these stories, after reading this far through her tale, she was growing increasingly certain of something else. Just as Achiyo's followers said, this tale really did have the same presence, the same scent as the tales written by Beatrice. The author was certainly different. However, the tale has the same scent because its author had arrived at the real truth. Enji was beginning to acknowledge this. Achi Otoya was the one who had reached Beatrice's truth. An endless witch like Beatrice, who could add to the endlessly stretching parallel worlds of the cat box. If one had reached Beatrice's truth, they can create a new tale, whoever they are. With this new manuscript, I'm sure some other than myself would appear and reach the truth. Those people will be qualified to create new tales of their own. So there will be more and more endless witches. Yes, and these many endless witches will add to Beatrice's catbox tale. The more they add to it, the more people will reach the truth. When that happens, the very first endless witch, Beatrice, will be finally rewarded for writing such long letters, packing them in bottles, and throwing them into the sea. In che senso? You could have yelled at me angrily and risen from your seat. However, you did not. Why? I hate to admit it, but I'm starting to think that your tale has some kind of truth or hint within it. I already have my own ideas. However, that's no more than looking with a single eye. Unless I accept a different viewpoint from my own and look at things from more than one angle, I'll never be able to see the truth in 3 dimensions. That's my interpretation of without love it cannot be seen. That is as it should. That is as it should be, child of man. Perhaps as the last surviving member of the Ushiromiya family, it was fated that you would find the truth and become an endless witch. I exist only as a guidepost to awaken you as the true successor. ENG Beatrice. Sometimes I have no idea what she's saying, but I'm positive she knows something. And maybe she actually has reached the truth as she claims. To summarize, I couldn't understand the truth from just the 2 message bottles Beatrice left behind, and since then I've been reading tale after tale of hints. Then these hints are challenges, provoking me to think. Precisely. Perfect. I'll find this truth you say you've reached. I was meant to visit this place. I was meant to visit this place after all. You were indeed. It is because you are yet to arrive there that I've invited you here, child of man. Let the truth I see and the truth you see overlap. Just as you see things with a single eye, so do I. And now that I found you for the first time, I too will be able to see the truth with both eyes. So the first twilight finally happened. Everything so far made me so sleepy. You have some sleep in your eye. Huh? Oh, where? That was immature. As you wish. Let's get started. We'll begin with the first twilight. Yo! Sì, sono morti 6 persone, ma teoricamente non dovrebbero essere le stesse persone di questa game board. Visiting the crime scene alle 1:11. Erika was dozing off on her bed, so when a knock sounded on the door, it took some time before she noticed. She looked at the clock and saw that not much time had passed since she had lain down. Yes, who is it? I hope you have a good reason for knocking on the detective door at an hour like this. That's right. I have one thing to say before we begin this game.
ああ
Oh,
例の
the
探偵
detective
宣言だ
proclamation thing.
好きにすれば
Knock
いい
yourself out.
いい
No,
えその逆
just the opposite.
勝負の冷凍
I
を
say
覚え
we
ていることで
raise
す
the stakes.
勝負の冷凍
Raise the stakes.
何何
What's
面
this?
白そうなこと言い
Now
出
that
して
sounds
どういう
interesting.
ことよ
What do you mean?
簡単な
It is
話よ
simple.
前回のゲームは
Butlers got a
Butler
shot
が
off at us in the last
だ
game.
から今回
So if Erika
エリカ
does
が
the
一本を
same
取っても
in this
イー
game,
ブンにしか
we're
ならない
only even.
前回のゲームは
Wasn't the last
引き分けだったの
game
では
a tie?
勝って当たり前の
We
ゲ
threw
ー
a
ム
game
を
we should
落と
have
した
won easily.
のあんなの負けでな
If
くて
that isn't a
なんだ
loss,
と
I
いう
don't
の
know
よ
what is.
ね
Right,
Erika?
Erika?
Yes,
Yes, my master.
私が無邪
We
な
were
ことをされて
expected to
れば
win that game if I hadn't failed so miserably.
はは
Oh, I get it.
つまり今回
So this time you'll intentionally fight at a disadvantage by not making a detective proclamation and win despite that.
前回の負けを
You're aiming not to only wipe out your loss from the previous game, but to totally flip the score upside down, right?
バトラさ
You
んの
intend to
渾身の
challenge
ゲ
the
ーム
game,
にそんな
Butler
おかしな
and
バ
poured
トル
his
と
heart and
戦
soul
うなんて
into with a foolish handicap like that?
身の程知らず以前
That is not only presumptuous, it is quite rude.
そうだな
Sure is. Sounds more like an excuse just in case they lose.
確かにそういう
True,
見方
you
も
could
ある
look at it that way.
勝てば大
If they
勝利
win, it's a great victory. But if they lose, Erika's side has a little nice excuse. Oh, isn't that a bit unsporting?
大丈夫
Don't worry, the bet will be evenly balanced.
今回のゲ
If
ーム
Erika can win this game as a human without the detective
バトラ
proclamation,
たちの魔女幻想はこの
it will be impossible for Butler and the others to pick up the pieces of the witch illusion.
でも逆に
But on the other hand, should Erika lose, I'm going to hurl that garbage detective into the depths of oblivion, along with the worst possible fragment.
ね
See?
公平でしょ
Balanced, right?
探偵という超
The
人で
ultimate victory of destroying the witch illusion as a mere human, not a superhuman detective.
それと引き換え
In
に
exchange for
自身の
that,
破
she
滅をか
wagers
けて
her
るわ
own
け
destruction.
私はかつて
I've
の
gotten
出会い
tired of
あんたの
never-ending
ゲームを
stream of bland and boring games that you and your former Beato
もう
played.
退屈なわけ
You and their former Beato played.
だから勝負の
So
冷凍
we're
は
raising the stakes and
一気に
settling
勝
it
負をさせる
all at once.
確か
Well,
にそうね
that is
今
true.
回のゲームを
If
バトル
Butler
が通して
can
たら
sell this game,
ベアトのゲームに
it
バト
will
ル
mean
が
that
勝利
Butler has
したことに
won
ゲームは
Beato's
終
game,
了して
and the
しまう
game will come to an end.
ある意味
In a sense, this is the kind of finale you can't pass up, right? Finale, ci sono altri 2 episodi.
言い分は分か
I
る
understand your position.
エリカはそれでいいの
Are you fine with that, Erika?
ええもちろんです
Yes, of course.
前回の敗
In
北
order
で
to
失った
regain my master's trust in me, which I lost with my previous defeat,
私は
I will risk
自分
even
の
my
破
own
滅すらもか
destruction.
けるのです
お前の意志
Is that of your own free will?
どうしたのエリ
What's wrong,
カ
Erika?
答えてあげなさい
Answer him.
当然です
Obviously,
私の意志で
this
す
is my own will.
私は
I
絶対
will
に
not
負けません
lose.
探偵宣
Even
言なんかな
without
く
the
ても
detective proclamation,
判定を
I
必ず
I will defeat you, no matter what.
バトラさん
Butler, son.
いいだろうお前がそうしたいというなら
Alright. If that's what you want, I'll accept your challenge.
ありがとうございま
Thank
す
you very much.
受けたことを
I'll make sure you regret
必
it.
ず後悔させてやりますから
Come to think about it, when Butler played for the human side, she never had anything as convenient as the detective authority.
許されてたのは
He was only allowed blue proof and repetition requests.
そういう
Exactly. In a way, it was the previous game that was truly
そ
unfair.
れで勝ちを
We
落とす
failed
の
to win despite that, which is why it was no different from a loss.
好きにしろ。
Do what you want.
お前が探偵宣
I
言
feel
をした
like
くなった
making a detective. If you feel like making a detective proclamation, just do it whenever you like.
今はそれを保留
I'll
している
consider it to
と
be
理解
an option you're keeping available.
誰か宣言
Why
なん
would
か
I
するも
never
んで
need
す
to
か
do that?
あんた程度の
Against
相
an
手に
opponent as weak as you. Oh.
では始めなさい
Then get started, you two.
私の
I'm already starting to get bored.
お任せを
Give it to me. Oh, Agarji.
必ずや
I will destroy the witch illusion for you without fail. Espressioni di Erika. George and Jessica had been the ones knocking on Erika's door. They were asking whether Butler and Maria had come to this room. Of course they hadn't.
ずいぶん前に
A good while ago they went downstairs saying that they wanted to get something to drink.
ひょっとしてエリカちゃんの部屋に来て
We
るかな
thought they might have come to your room.
来るわけない
Of
で
course
す
they didn't.
屋敷にでも行った
Are
んじゃ
you
ない
sure
で
they
すか
didn't go to the mansion?
屋敷の使用人室や食堂に電話してるんだけど誰も出なくて
We called the servant room and dining hall of the mansion, but no one picked up.
あなたたちはここにいてください
Stay here, you two.
私はちょっと
I'm
屋
going
敷の
to
様子を
check
見て
the
きます
mansion.
危ないよ
Hey,
こんな
it's
時間に
dangerous to go out this late.
この閉鎖された
How
島
could
に
a stranger's knee come to this sealed off island?
いとこ部屋とやらに
Stay
行
in
ってくださ
that
い
cousin room of
何
yours.
かあったら連
I'll
絡しますから
contact you if anything happens.
ゲストハウスの使用人
Also,
室
tell the
の人たち
servants in
に
the
も
guest house
ゲストハウ
servant
スを出
room
ないよ
not
う
to
に
leave
伝
the
えてくだ
building.
さいでは
Bye.
ちょっとエリカさん
Wait a second, Erika-san.
変わった子だね
She's a strange kid. After speaking her mind and not listening to anything else, Erika dashed down the stairs and rushed outside. First twilight usually starts in the morning. It looks like we got an early fight this time.
ゲストハウスで事件が起きてい
No
ない
crime has occurred in the guest
とな
house,
ると
so that means the stage of the tragedy is in the mansion. Though she had an umbrella up, Erika got drenched as she sprinted. She brashly licked the raindrops that dripped down her face. Erika was now at her most energetic. Teoricamente sì, Jover. According to her memory of the previous game, the entrance to the mansion would be locked at the same time that the family conference started. However, the lock was undone this time. Had someone unlocked it, or had the lock not been set? Or had it been not possible to set the lock?
まあ
Well, no point thinking about it now.
そうなる
After all, that might just be a whim of the game masters. As soon as she entered the entrance hall, the door to the parlor As soon as she entered the entrance hall, the door to the parlor opened violently. Out of it flew Goda's large body.
おや
Oh,
こんばんは
good
ゴーダさん
evening, Goda-san.
何かございましたか
Is something the matter?
警察救急車を
Police, ambulance. That expression really is wonderfully pathetic. Just fitting for the first one to discover the crime.
どうか落ち着いてください
Please, calm
台
down.
風のこと
How
で
could the police on an ambulance get to this isolated island in the middle of a typhoon?
どうせ電話は普通
I'm
に
sure
され
the
てる
phones
んです
are
から
out anyway, so please calm yourself. Kraus and Rudolph's yells could be heard from the parlor. Their shaken appearance perfectly signified the arrival of the first twilight. Well then, give me the victims, the locations, and the reconstruction of the situation.
小休止に出た人間が戻らない
Those who left to take a break didn't come back, so the adults went to the parlor.
扉が内から
When they
閉ざされ
did,
て開かなかった
when they did, the door was sealed from the inside, and they couldn't open
後に
it.
わかるが
As they would learn later, the hat stand in the parlor had been used to bar the double doors from the inside.
扉は内から閉ざ
So
さ
you're
れ
trying to say that the door was blocked from the inside, and that the windows were also locked from the inside?
そういうことだ
That's it.
外に回り
When they went around and looked into the parlor through the window, they saw Rosa lying on the sofa in an unnatural position with blood pouring out from her forehead.
そこで
They then smashed the glass, entered the parlor, and discovered that Maria was also there, lying by the wall and covered in blood. Però aspetta, questi sono gli omicidi di Canon e Shannon.
なるほど
I see.
それは大騒
I'm
ぎです
sure there was quite an uproar.
他の現場は
And the other crime scenes?
エリカが屋敷に入った
The entrance wasn't locked when you came into the mansion, because they had gone out through it to check the parlor from the outside.
その直前までは
Since the
施錠されてい
entrance
たた
was
め
locked before the adults went through it, they thought that the other people who had gone missing might be somewhere within the mansion in a similar condition.
大人たちは今
So now they're searching the entire building.
先ほど
Are the locations of the dead the same as in that long-winded putrid delusion of yours that you showed earlier?
同
They're
じ
the
だ
same.
客間には
Rosa and Maria were in the parlor. As for the others, Natsui was in her own room, and Kiria was in Kraus' room, the Kraus study. Ah, ok, allora le vittime dei Love Trials coincidono. Ok, e Eva?
エヴァはバラ
Eva was in the Rose Garden. No, wait. She was moved to the VIP room, wasn't she?
そうだ
Yes.
エヴァの遺体は
They did discover Eva's body in the VIP room.
これで犠牲者5
That
人
makes 5 victims.
おや
Oh, that's one short for the first Twilight.
6人目は
Who's
誰
the sixth? And where are they?
旦那様
Kraus-sama!
この部屋
The
に
chain on this room is also set.
切断しろい
Cut it!
犯人が隠れて
The
るかもしれ
culprit
ない
might be hiding in there.
ゴードやる
Goda, do it. Non l'abbiamo quasi mai visto Kraus col fucile. Rudolf and Kraus had brought rifles from Kinzo's prize collection. They yelled at Goda, who was carrying the bolt cutter, to cut the chain. Victims had been found one after another at several locations inside the mansion. The men who had lost their wives searched through the mansion in a rage, looking for the culprit. This was a guest room. It had previously been a room where the relatives would stay, but it hadn't been used much since the construction of the guest house. This forgotten room was locked from the inside by the chain. Tra l'altro sono morte tutte le mogli ora che ci penso. No, aspetta. Kirie, Eva, eh sì, Natsui, sono morte tutte le mogli. Oh no, è un milficidio. As soon as the chain was cut, Rudolf pushed Goda aside and flew into the room.
誰が嫌がる
Who is in there? Show yourself.
ベッドに誰かいるぞ
There's someone on the bed.
兄貴明かりを
Let's get some light, Aniki. Krausch pushed the switch on the wall. The guest room lit up, and the figure lying on the bed came into view.
Batola!
Ci avevate preso. Porca troia, però mi sento male. Vabbè che è solo un gioco. Anche nel gioco è solo un gioco. E loro lo sanno. Però comunque mi fa male lo stesso. Mi immagino Rudolf che ha perso Kirie e Butler.
お前どうしてこんなところに
Che effettivamente no, faceva sempre il papà un po' rompicazzo, un po' vabbè donnaiolo, ok, tutto il resto. Però sappiamo che quando c'erano i momenti critici in cui Butler, per esempio, aveva delle richieste, anche quella volta che gli ha chiesto, no, ok, ritorno nella famiglia, ma ti devi inginocchiare a chiedermi scusa, lui l'ha fatto subito. Vabbè. Butler! Damn it, what are you even doing in here? Rudolph crumpled to his knees and fell onto Butler's body. No words could console him as he cried with a mad sorrow. In a single night he had lost both his wife and his son. During this time Kraus checked the window locks and the bathroom and searched the closet to find if anyone was hiding there, but he found no one.
バトラーバトラーちくしょうあーお気の毒です
Upset.
信じられんことだが
It's hard to
この
believe,
部屋
but
も
just like the others, this is a locked room.
ま
What?
たですか
Again?
そうだ
Yes.
キリエさんのいた
My
私の
study
書
where
斎
Kiryu-san was Natsu's room,
エヴァの
the
貴賓室
VIP room with Eva,
ローザ親子
the
の
parlor with Rosa and her daughter,
そして
and
この
now
バトラー君
Butler
の
Kun
客
in
室
this guest room.
すべてが密室と
They're
いう
all
ことで
locked
はなく
rooms.
わけがわかる
Don't understand.
まさか
And are we to believe this is suicide?
そんなことあるの
Like
か
hell it is.
これが
How
どう自
could
殺
this
されてん
be
だ
suicide?
あーバトラー
おや、こ
Oh,
れは意外で
there's
した
a surprise.
まさか6
To
年前
think you
あなた
yourself
自身
would be
とは
the sixth person.
たまには自分殺しも
It's more
面白い
interesting to kill yourself off now and then.
そして全て
All
の
of the
現場は
crime
い
scenes
ずれ
are
も密
locked
室です
rooms.
魔法以外では
They're
成し得ない
murders
殺
that
人
they
です
couldn't have been performed without magic.
それを暴くゲー
Isn't
ムじゃな
seeing
いですか
through that the point of this game?
すなわち
By which I
魔法以
mean
外で成
the
し得なければ
murders
ならない
must
殺
be
人という
possible
わ
to
けです
commit without magic.
だって
After
本
all,
当に魔
if
法で
they
しかでき
really
なか
could
った
be
ら
done only with
それって
magic,
ゲ
this
ームが
wouldn't be
成
a
立し
game.
ませんから
面白い考え方だ
This is an interesting way of thinking about it.
ななるほど
Yeah, this is the sort of game
確かに俺
we've
たち
been
のゲー
playing.
ム
Tra
そ
l'altro,
ういうゲーム
sono già assegnati come morti? No, aspetta. Human side. Human side. Non sono ancora assegnati come morti, allora non li segno. This game is fair. The goal is to explain, without magic, the strange crimes that the opposite side claims to have carried out using magic. If that couldn't be done, it wouldn't be a game. In other words, just as Erika said, it has to be possible to perform the murders without magic. To view it from the opposite angle, the witch side has a certain responsibility. They have to make a crime that can be reproduced with tricks and not magic. As long as the human side can't figure out those tricks, the witch side can use all kinds of magic and illusions. In other words, in order to carry out a locked room murder with magic, it is necessary to create a crime that is possible to carry out by human hands. By now I understand. Oh, ciao Andrew! Recuperati appena puoi. By now I understand. I see why when I ordered the 7 sisters to kill my classmates back at St. Lucia, they couldn't do what I told them. And I understand the meaning of Mammon's words. Do you mean that magic is only capable of that which can accomplish by your own hands? At that time, if I had possessed the determination to kill my classmates, no, that's not it. At that time, if I had an AK-47 in my backpack, at that time, if I had been capable of killing my classmates, capable of going through with it, the 7 sisters of Purgatory would probably have pulled it off for me. They could only accomplish what I could do myself. No, that's not it either. They could take what I had accomplished and turn it into magic. È un abbellimento della realtà, come ben sappiamo. Of course, there were a great number of witnesses in that classroom, so that would probably have been impossible. Maria Onechan would call it being burned by the anti-magic toxin. However, if I had called those classmates out somewhere without witnesses and carried out the murder myself, that would be when the Seven Sisters of Purgatory could carry out a magical murder. Even with magic, witches cannot do things that they cannot accomplish by themselves. They can only use magic to embellish the things that are possible for them. How interesting it is that those who can accomplish something without using magic nevertheless speak of magic and call themselves witches. This Erika person has understood that since the very beginning. That's why she will never surrender to witches. She is confident that it must be explainable with tricks. The old butler was toyed with so frequently because he did not possess that confidence. Once this rule is seen through, the witch loses any chance of victory. That's why they have to make their opponent surrender before they see the truth of this rule. The longer the match is drawn out, the more hints are given, and more overwhelming the witch's disadvantage becomes. See. Once again, my thoughts are spinning in circles. Why did Beato prolong this game until she lost? Many victims had been found and the mansion was still wrapped in chaos. Hideyoshi's group seemed to have gone to the guest house worrying about the safety of the kids there. Kraus and Rudolf were in the hall, talking about what should be done next. During a short gap in this chaos, Erika dashed all about the mansion. She was checking the crime scenes. Normally, with the detective authority, Erika had the right to openly investigate the crime scenes to her heart's content. However, this time she hadn't yet invoked that authority. Because of that, and with her being a guest and an outsider, there was little to no chance that she would be allowed to investigate. So she was forced to quickly check all of the crime scenes now, while she could still run about as she pleased. In the servant room there had been a clear folder containing a plan of the mansion interior. Because she had borrowed that, she knew the locations of every room in the mansion. Erika efficiently made her way through the mansion, dashing into each crime scene in turn. Lady Erika, I believe you know, but allow me to warn you just in case. Yes, what is it? It is true that you have an incredible photographic memory. When you combine that with the detective's proclamation, it becomes impossible for you to be fooled by anything. I know what you're going to say. Since I haven't made the detective proclamation, even my photographic memory could potentially be fooled. Of course, I understand that. Still, that doesn't mean I can afford to go without viewing the crime scenes directly. After all, in the last game, my pride in that regard led me to commit a truly agonizing blunder. To take an extreme case, no matter how well you examine a person's corpse right now, the possibility will always remain that they were faking their deaths. It will probably be unnecessary to give Butler repetition requests to confirm the identity of each situation individually, the details of each situation individually. And I'll need to use the blue truth liberally in order to draw those out of him. I know that. Let's start with the basics. The lack of detective's authority is no handicap. It simply means that I'm fighting under the same conditions Butler once was. Yes, this fight is retracing the old days when Butler and Beato fought so fiercely. I have no conveniences such as the detective authority. I truly do just have to fight the same way the old butler fought. Thinking of this way, it may be true that I was very blessed, in a very blessed and fair position last game, just as my master said. It may be difficult without the detective's authority, which also hold my honor as a detective, but I won't let that be an handicap. I know what magic is, and I'm fully aware of how to fight with the red and blue truths. I know the way to fight in this game many times better than the old butler did. Vero, Jover, no? Sarebbe bello avere una conferma delle morti, che finché non ce l'hai, possono essere ancora tutti vivi. I quickly visited the VIP room, Krause's study, and Natsu's room on the second floor, as well as the parlor and the guest room on the first floor, this time checking with my own eyes, as I neglected to do so in the last game. First off, all of the scenes were made to look like locked rooms. Probably of special note is the fact that the master keys had no relation to the tricks this time. The locked rooms were all constructed without relying on any elements that could be locked or unlocked from the outside by master key or something else. The windows were locked from the inside and the doors were all locked and chained. Master key can get around all the locks on the doors, but the window locks and the chain locks are more trouble than they might appear. I haven't yet used a repetition request to confirm that it's impossible to manipulate them from the outside, but I'm sure you'll be able to see it in red. I'd be surprised. It'd be stupid otherwise.
分かってます。
I understand.
今の私はただの
Right
人
now,
間。
I am a mere human.
遺体の死亡確認
I
さ
can't
え
even properly
満足
confirm
で
the
きやし
deaths of the corpses. Last time I neglected to check the bodies and let a massive piece of magic get by me. I won't fail like that again. If I let that happen even once more, I won't be able to face the master I'm so indebted to. Voi cosa fareste
全ての現場を確認し
nei panni di Erika?
情報の整理が終わりました。
We have checked all the crime scenes and finished gathering
ご報
information.
告いたします。
Here is our report.
お願いします。
Go ahead.
まず
First,
全ての部屋
all
は
of the
窓
rooms,
の施錠
all
と
of
チ
the
ェーンロッ
rooms
ク
employ
等に
window locks and chain
外
locks
部よりの
to
干渉の
form
困難
locked
な
rooms in a
方法
way
に
that would be
密室を構
difficult
築
to
されていまし
interfere
た。
with from the
唯一
outside.
の例外は
The only
ローズと
exception is the
マリアが死
parlor
んでいた
where
客
Maria
の
and Rosa
のみ
lay dead.
金系
Kinke, for your attention, I beg to inform you of the following.
帽子掛けが
Let it be known that the door was barred with a headstand. Was barred with a
実質的
headstand.
にチェーンロックと同
It is
様
though
の内側のみより施錠可能
to
と
be
思われる
substantially
もの
the
です。
same as a chain lock, in that it can only be set from the inside.
マスターキーによる
It is
解釈は
probably his
完全
goal
に
to
封じた
construct
密
locked
室を
rooms
構成
where
するため
explanation
でしょ
using master keys are completely ineffective.
客間の性格上チェーンロックがない
The
ため
parlor had
他
no
の何
chain
か
lock
が
due
対応
to
する
its
こと
very
も
nature,
自
so
然
it
で
is
す。
natural that something else would be used in a place of the chain.
ならどうしてチェーンロックのある他の部屋を密室に選ばなかったか
In
が
that
興味
case,
深い
the
です
interesting question becomes why he didn't choose one of the other rooms that do have a chain
バトラ
lock.
が死んでいた客室
There
は
are several
他
other
にも
guest
数室
rooms
あり
beside the one
同じよ
Butler
うな
lay
構造を
dead
して
in,
たわけですよ
all
ね。
in with a similar construction,
は
correct?
い、そうです。
Yes, that is correct.
ならそこに
In
閉じ
that
込めれば
case, it would have been more aesthetically pleasing to lock them in there so that everyone would be inside a room locked by a chain. Yet he did not do
どう
that.
もこの客間の
This headstand door bar in the parlor seems very suspicious.
副賞要求で
I should probably
要求する
investigate
べ
it
きですよ。
thoroughly with my repetition requests. Also, regarding the bodies, in the last game their throats were sliced wide open,
みたいに
to the point that their deaths could be confirmed with certainty even without the detective's authority. But was there anything like that this time around? Of course, he had checked all the corpses in all of the crime scenes this time. However, without the detective authority, she had no guarantee that she would be able to see through any fake deaths, with certainty. Quella cosa che hai detto, Jover, teoricamente può farlo. Perché non è ancora detective. C'è la regola di Nox che impedisce al detective di essere l'assassino. O comunque di uccidere, I guess. Se non è il detective, tecnicamente potrebbe farlo. Sarebbe un po' controproducente. Sarebbe un po'... Stavo per dire pazzo, però insomma, I wouldn't put it past Erika, ecco. Però sarebbe molto pazzo se lei tipo, per assicurarsi che siano veramente morti, tipo va lì e li ammazza tutti quanti uno per uno. Oh, la morte è giusta, alzo le mani, guarda, hai ragione, Jover. The old butler had also started fighting by doubting whether the victims were truly dead. It was the same for Erika. For your attention, I beg to inform you of the following. Know that there were no corpses that could have been confirmed dead with certainty by physical means. For your attention, I beg to inform you of the following. We cannot eliminate the possibility that any of those corpses might be a fake death. Well, even if I make a repetition request to confirm their deaths, I doubt Butler would be so quick to answer. Easy. Lo fai tipo Erika coperta di sangue con tipo un fucile e un coltello. Tipo, easy. Vabbè. I like Beato's chain of 6 locked rooms. I liked Beato's chain of 6 locked rooms better, but these locked rooms are more complete, considering the master keys are no help at all. Vero. There are 2 general ways of breaking locked rooms a butler might be after. An illusion of a locked room or an illusion of a crime. It'll be one of those. I get the first one. That's when something looks like a locked room, but it actually isn't, right? What do you mean by an illusion of a crime? An illusion that makes it seem as though a crime has occurred. In other words, are they really dead? Come on, are you kidding me? If the person inside the locked room is alive, it's no different than if we were just taking a pee. If they were just taking a pee. Still, with this locked room, it's pretty hard to think of any other answer. What about the endless possibilities of manipulating the chain lock from the outside? We don't know if there are secret doors, way to kill from a distance, chances of suicide, or even whether these are complete locked rooms in the first place. I have a behind-the-scene view of Butler's game board, so I can tell you this. These are perfect locked rooms. They can only be constructed from the inside, and there's no way to deconstruct or interfere with them from the outside. Can you say that in rhyme? That'd be a little too rude to Butler, so no. If you do love me, you must see my words as read truth, right? Then the locked rooms are perfect. In other words, this is an illusion of a crime. It does seem that way. If so, these locked rooms are all a ruse. I guess the whole Ushiramiya family got so fed up with Erika prattling on about being a detective and not knowing when to shut up that they all joined together and set up a fake murder to make fun of her or something. Wait, is that the right answer? I'm like a super great detective. Unfortunately, this isn't a ruse. The victims have been totally killed. Huh? And you're not talking about at midnight on the second day? No detective proclamation had been made, but she is very accurate when examining corpses. I could almost even give her examinations. I could almost have given her examination the red truth. So, was that what? Mamma mia, che palle. So, what does that mean?
エリカの検視時に
They were
間違えて
definitely
死亡
dead
して
when
たって
Erika
こと
claimed
にな
their
るの？
corpses. Perché claimed? Non c'è claim da nessuna parte. That they were definitely dead when Erika examined their corpses?
ええ、そうね。
Yes, that's
そ
right.
れはもうガ
Well
ッツリ
and truly.
でも赤
But
き真
you
実は
won't
言
see
って
it
あ
in
げない
red,
とね。
right?
エリ
La
カは
poor
その
Erika must
世の
want it
中で
so
比べるほど欲しい
bad.
だろうに。だって今回の相手
Well, she isn't even a detective this time
赤
around.
き真実
I
なん
won't
てあ
give
げ
it
ない
any red.
しかし
But then, if that's all true, that's amazing.
バトラの今回
This
のこれ
time Butler's really made a perfect locked room murder.
あら
Oh, perhaps he has.
エリカ大丈夫？
Will Erika be alright?
一見普通の
It
密
looks
室
like
殺
an
人だけど
ordinary locked room murder at a
地味に
glance,
かなり
but
やばい
this one is
密室だわ
secretly
これ
pretty nasty.
探偵権限された
Won't this
エ
be
リ
a
カ
bit
に
too
は
much
ちょっと
for
見た方
Erika
がいいんじゃ
without
な
her
い？
detective authority?
自称名探偵だもん
She is a self-proclaimed great
きっと
detective.
エリカはやっ
I'm
てく
sure
れる
she'll pull through.
探偵ですら
If Butler and Beato are defeated by a mere human who isn't even a detective, they'll fall apart in the most exquisite way, don't you think?
それに
And even if Erika loses, we get to play by throwing her into the worst fragment and casting her into the depths of oblivion.
それはそれで面白そうだしそういうこと
Exactly.
私たちはどっち
No
に
matter
転
how
んで
the
も
chips fall, it won't be boring for us.
あんたってば
You
本当
really
に
don't
血も
have
涙
one
もない
tear
よ
to
ね
shed or a drop of blood in your veins, do you?
ま
Still, wringing that black cat out like a towel and licking up the single drop that comes out is what brings me joy.
ベアトのゲーム
Beato's game board did entertain me for quite some time,
もう何も出
but
て
we
きやしない
already
くらい
wrung
に
everything
絞
we
り尽く
can
した
from it.
このゲームも
You'll be
こ
over
れで
with
おし
this
まいなのよ
game.
だから最
So
後に
if we're going to cap it off properly, we really must let Erika and Butler bet everything in one
くらいには
final
盛り上がって
face
く
off.
れなきゃねち
Boo.
このゲームで無
I
限に
wanted to play
あんた
this
と遊ぼう
game
と
with
思
you
ったのに
forever.
残念だわ
What a shame.
とんでもない
Come now.
十分にあんた
I
に
spent
付き合わせ
plenty
る
of
わよ
time with you already.
また面白
Go
そうな
find me
ゲーム
another
を見つけ
interesting
て
game board.
そしたらまた
If you
遊んで
do,
あげる
I'll play with you again.
本当
You really don't ever let me get bored.
それでいいのよ
Be like this forever, Bercaste.
そんなあんたの
Seeing your
表情を
face
興味
twist with
深めることだ
anguish
け
is the one
私
forbidden
が覚え
honey
てしま
I've
った
found
唯一
for
の禁断
myself.
の蜜なのだから
Lambda Delta had guaranteed that it was a perfect locked room. Per guaranteed, un nuovo personaggio. Ben Castle had guaranteed that it was a perfect locked room. Or a perfect murder. Mamma mia. Lambda Delta had guaranteed that this was a perfect locked room. Ben Castle had guaranteed that this was a perfect murder. A perfect locked room murder. The witches hated to be a killjoy, so they wouldn't yet say anything with the red truth. Pursuing that would be the role of Butler and Erika. Prima c'è stato il suono di aggiornamento. Sono stati aggiornati i morti? Oh! Ah. Huh. Corpse discovered in her own room. Frodo Erika did not perform a sufficiently detailed investigation, so the details of the cause of death are unknown. Ed è uguale per tutti. Va bene, comunque io li segno morti. Dobbiamo mettere morti Maria. Dobbiamo mettere morti Rosa. Dobbiamo mettere morti Batora. Dobbiamo mettere morti Kyrie. Dobbiamo mettere morta Eva. Nazi. Giusto. Bene. Ok. È un po' più difficile da vedere senza rosso, però ci sta perché comunque è un po' l'obiettivo. C'è una scia di grigio nella parte centrale. Ah, ok. Nel senso proprio sono tutti al centro, dici, quelli grigi. Penso, non vedo grigio da altre parti. Non so se stai dicendo, non so se stavi dicendo questo o altro. Ah, ok. Mo. It seems like you had a pretty mad dash around the crime scenes. Satisfied? Is your inspection complete? Yes, I am satisfied. So, about our war of red and blue, what are your thoughts? Shall we start right away? Or do it all at the end? I don't like putting things off. I think the same goes for you. Then allow me to get started with the locked rooms of the first twilight. First off, I'd like to check. Do you intend to respond to my repetition requests? That depends on what they are. I have no obligation to respond to all of them. I won't reveal my reasons when I refuse. Good. Then let's start simple and confirm the definition of a locked room. Lanor, please read it aloud. Understood. We request that the following be repeated. We request the following be repeated. Dlanor unfurled the kind of scroll often depicted in Western fairy tales when an official reads a royal decree, and she read the contents aloud. First, the rooms with the 6 people in them are all locked rooms. Acknowledged. Of course, that's only until Goda and the others severed the chains and destroyed the locked rooms. At a nod from Dlanor, Cornelia, who stood behind her, stared, taking notes. Second, the definition of locked room implies that it is impossible to construct from outside. Acknowledged. In other words, no trickery done from the outside can construct a locked room. It isn't permitted for a chain lock to be reset from the outside by a skillful used wire, for example. I didn't need you to tell me that. Dlanor, please continue. Third, the definition of a locked room implies that all forms of interference between the inside and the outside of the room are prevented. Acknowledged. However, I won't rule out the kind of interference that you expect from a normal room, such as knocks, voices, and the extension telephone line. Fourth, at the time of the breaking of the locked rooms, none existed within the rooms except the victims. E questa è una cosa che mi sono chiesto prima, ma che non ho detto ad alta voce. Sì, potrebbe essere che non sono veri locked room. Sì, potrebbe essere che non sono veri omicidi. Ma potrebbe essere anche che l'assassino è ancora dentro la stanza. E quindi arriva quella domanda. Acknowledged. Ah, perfetto. This was the check that the murderer hadn't been hiding inside a locked room. Because if the discoverers departed the scene after becoming aware of the locked room murder, and then the culprit slipped out of the room after that, it would have been impossible to construct an illusion of the locked room. Because Butler had acknowledged their statement with the red truth, this possibility that the culprit and the victim had both been inside the locked room at the time of the crime, following which the culprit had hid under the bed and snuck out after the discovery of the crime, had now been eliminated. Fifth, no murder was committed after the breaking of the locked rooms. I decline. Why? Because the victims really were alive at the point where the locked rooms were destroyed, and the culprits were actually Kraus and the others who crowded in who committed the murders then and there. In other words, because it was a murder after the locked room was destroyed, is that the truth behind this? No, that's not it.
まだ殺人は続
The
くのですから
murders will continue to occur, so he can't declare in red that no murders will happen after this. A stupid technicality. You must understand what we're getting at.
クラウスたちがチェーンを切断
Kraus
して
group cut the chains and destroyed the locked rooms, then killed the people
こ
inside.
れに反応しても
I
らい
just
たい
want
だ
you
け
to I
です
just want you to argue against this.
エリカ教
Lady
クラ
Erika,
ウスたち
the undefined plurality of Kraus group is insufficient.
まずは
You should first check to see which humans entered the room after the locked rooms were broken.
金系
For your
密
attention.
室に踏み入った
Excepting the victims, the only ones who entered the locked rooms were these four:
ボーダの4人
Kraus, Rudolf, Hideyoshi, and Goda.
金系
For your
これは
attention,
聞き取りによるもの
this
だ
is based on
他
hearsay.
に踏み入った
Be
人物が
advised
いな
that
いと
there
い
is
う
no
保証は
proof
なきなり
that
と知り立て
others
ます
did not enter.
言われるまでも
I know that already.
今のを復唱
Let's
して
have
もら
him
いましょ
repeat
う
that.
密室破壊
After the breaking of the locked rooms, the only ones who entered the rooms apart from me were these four: Kraus, Rudolf, Hideyoshi, and
の
Goda.
みである
いいぜ
Sure,
認める
acknowledged.
ただしこれは
However, this only applies to the current point in
今後
time.
のゲーム展開
It
以
is
下では
possible that some later development in the game will cause more people to enter.
復唱よ
Repetition requested. Kraus, Rudolf, Hideyoshi, and Goda are not
犯
culprits.
人ではない
Hanni dewa nai. C'è troppo come l'ha detto. Butler put his finger on his chin, deep in thought. This word, culprit, was fairly broad, and it might serve to greatly restrict the darkness of the witch.
答えてもいいのでは
Why
ない
not
でしょ
answer?
うもし拒否すれ
If we
ば
decline, they'll leave behind the blue truth saying that Kraus and the others were the culprits.
残っ
そうだな
You're right.
認めはするが
I'll acknowledge it, but I'll make the
言い方をさらに厳密に
language
し
more strict.
クラウスルドルフ秀吉ゴーダたち4人
Kraus, Rudolf, Hideyoshi, and Goda.
夏日エヴァ
These four
キリエ
had no
ローザ
involvement in
アニ
murdering the sick.
バトラたち6人の殺人に関わっていない
These four had no involvement in murdering the six: Natsui, Eva, Kyrie, Rosa, Maria, and Butler.
ということは
That means it was also impossible for any of the other humans who didn't even enter the locked rooms to have been involved in those murders either, doesn't it?
さあな
Who
自
knows?
分で考
Think
えろ
about it yourself.
密室に立ち
If you think you can build up some blue truth for how a locked room murder can be committed without entering the room, then I'll respond with the red truth.
もっとも
However, I only need to destroy one of the blue truths you'll be presenting from here on out. In other words, even if you do manage to use the blue truth and explain that this was some long-distance locked room murder trick
必ず
X,
しもそれに
I don't necessarily have to counter with the red truth. These are the rules. These are the rules of the witch game. Mamma mia. These are the rules of the witch's game, and you checked these details with Beato in the fourth game. The witch side must... Dov'è must? Non c'è must! The witch side lays out mystery after mystery and claims them to be impossible to carry out except with magic. By magic, the human side must use the blue truth to argue that they are explainable with tricks. And if they cannot make a counter-argument with the blue truth for even one of these mysteries, that mystery will be considered to have been done by magic, and it will be impossible to deny the existence of a witch. In other words, the witch side only needs to protect only one of its mysteries. In contrast, the human side has to fully explain all mysteries with the blue truth. And even if the human side manages to explain all of the mysteries with the blue truth, if any one of those is successfully countered by the red truth, the witch will win. Therefore, just like the strategy that old Butler adopted Scusate, il sonno mi sta cominciando a colpire. Therefore, just like the strategy that the old Beato adopted in her final game, it is sufficient for the witch side to put off their red text counter-arguments until the very last moment, then make a single strike at their opponent's most fragile spot.
いずれにせよ
In any
今
event,
の
you've
副将
declined to
要点
repeat the
は
last
と
one,
いうことですね
right?
勘違いするな
Don't kid
副
yourself.
将要求
You're not entitled to have your repetition requests answered. From the perspective of the witch's side, repetitions requests are just a supplement to make sure that the human side hasn't misunderstood the question. Therefore, they have neither a technical nor a moral obligation to respond to requests that are extremely broad.
やりますね
Not bad.
魔女がプレイヤ
Looks
ー
like
とし
you
て
can handle being a
なかなか
player on the
頑張るじゃ
witch's
ない
side
ですか
pretty well too.
お前とは場数が違
Your
うぜ
experience is no match for mine.
ドラノール
続けます
Let us continue.
犠牲
Sixth,
者たちは
the
他殺を
victims
除
did
くあら
not
ゆ
die
る
by
方法で
any
死んではい
method
ない
other than homicide.
認める
Acknowledged.
もちろん自殺や
Of
事
course,
故死
there
ではあ
were
り
no
ません
suicides or accidental deaths.
一つ犠牲者
Seventh,
が
the victims.
ドラノール
That's enough,
それで
Lano.
結構です
よろしいのですか
You sure?
まだ項目
There are still items. Yeah,
もう十
this,
分です
that will do
現場の
fine.
状況は
I've confirmed the status of the crime
ここ
scenes.
から
From
青と
here
白
on,
で
it's time
反
for
応
me
タ
to
ーンとし
argue
ましょ
back
う
with the blue truth.
ああいいぜ
Fine by me.
ご考説を
Let me
拝見し
hear
よう
your masterful theories. È vero, assolutamente Giover. Though Butler and Erika were enemies, it looked to Beato as though they were having a little fun doing it. She was probably slightly jealous of Erika. Beato thought back on the books she had read in Federin's archives, in which the older and Butler fought. That must have been fun as well. During a short break in the family conference, a horrible, brutal mass murder had occurred. Excluding Butler, the 6 people killed had all been women. The men who had been left behind went mad with rage at the cowardice of it, broke down sobbing at the sadness of losing their wives, and went back and forth between the two many times.
どうして女ばかり
Why were they all girls?
卑劣にも程があ
How
るやないか
cowardly can a person be? No, aspetta. Sto sbagliando lingua. How cowardly can a person... No. Ma perché non riesco a tirare fuori il mio Hideyoshi oggi? Why were they all girls? How cowardly can a person be?
俺たちは何
What's
だ
wrong
ってん
with
だ
us?
同じ屋根の
Here
下にい
we
て
are under the same
自分
roof,
の家族が
and we're
殺されて
just
るのに揃い
smoking
も揃
away,
って
not
気づかず
noticing that the members of our family are being killed. Damn it!
しかし
But
誰がどうや
how?
って妻たちは
They were not
無防備では
unprotected.
なかったのだぞ皆
The
チェー
chain
ンを
was
したまま
set for all of them.
くだらねえぜそ
Who
んなこ
gives a
と
damn about
ど
that?
うやって殺したかが
Don't
問
care
題
how
じゃ
they
ねえ
killed them. I just
誰
want
が
to
殺
know
したか
who.
だけが問題だなあ源氏さん
Hey, Genji-san, Goda-san.
親族会議
Were the
中の
doors and
やつ
windows to the
は
mansion all
窓も
locked during the
全て
family
鍵が
conference?
かかってたっちゅうんやなはい
Yes,
それはも
there can be no doubt.
奥様のお言い
In
つけ通り
accordance with Madame's instructions, everything is always locked at the time of the
全
night
ての
patrol.
施錠をいたしております今夜は特別でござい
Tonight
ま
was
す
a special case, but everything was locked up shortly after seeing the children off to the
す
guest
ぐに
house.
施錠するようにいたしておりました
そりゃおかしいぜ
That doesn't make any sense.
だったらどうして屋敷にバトラーやマリアちゃんがい
If
るんだ
that's true, how were Butler and Maria-chan inside the
入っ
mansion?
てこれないはずだ
They
ろ
shouldn't have been able to get in, right?
戸締まりが
If everything really was locked up
そう
properly,
いうこと
that
に
couldn't
な
have
らん
happened.
はずやこの二人が
Doesn't the two of them being inside the mansion prove that the building wasn't completely locked up? Right? Right? He was arguing that Goda's failure to lock up properly might have allowed a stranger to sneak in. At the very least, none of them had known that Butler and Maria had visited the mansion. If those had come and found if those two had come and found everything locked tight, they wouldn't have been able to get inside. If they had rung the doorbell, Goda would probably have heard them from the servant room, but Goda said that nothing of that sort had happened. How they had entered the locked mansion was a complete mystery. Don't think. For example, what if Madame or someone happened to be close by the entrance and noticed Butler-sama and Maria-sama knocking or heard the bell? Couldn't have happened. You were in the servant room then, right, Goda-san? There's a chime that goes off in the servant room when the front door opens. There's no way you had missed anyone. Yes, but you see, at that time Goda was serving drinks as you requested, so he was not in the servant room. Why was there only one servant in the mansion on such an important day? Why was someone as important as Genji-san on duty in the guest house? Does that make any sense? Why was the servant room left empty? My wife was the one who put those shifts together. She probably hoped that Goda would serve some fashionable drinks during the family conference as well, since he often thinks to do such things. But Kraus-san, this is the family conference, right? The most important day of the year, right? Why was Goda-san left as the only person on shift in the mansion? If there'd been just one more person, everything would have been different, don't you think? Well? With half-crying, half-enraged, jumbled-up expression, Hideyoshi yelled at Goda. Of course, the culprit who killed everyone was the most to blame and the most despicable. However, even if he understood that, he needed to let off some steam. Ma perché mi sto inventando le parole? He needed to let off some of his emotions by hating someone he could see. I understand how distressing this must be for all of you. However, please calm down. I don't know whether Goda-san was thorough enough when locking up, or whether someone let Butler and Maria-san in after they came back from the guest house, and then forgot to lock up afterwards. But whatever the case, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with how the mysterious culprit snuck in. After all, the mansion is massive. They might have come in much earlier and hid until late at night, for all we know. I can understand the desire to suspect someone, but please calm down. Our guest is right. The culprit is the one we should hate, not Goda-san, who just happened to be on duty. At any rate, let's calm down. I feel as terrible as the rest of you. However, we must take the initiative now and regain our composure. We all feel sad and devastated, and none of us will ever forgive the one who did this. That's why we all need to regain our composure. He is right. We still have George. Klaus-Nisan still has Jessica-chan. And Rudolph-kun, you still have Ange-chan waiting for you to return, right? It's still too soon to go risking everything to take down the killer. The culprit is still on this island. We can't be sure that this tragic crime is over. We need to stay calm and prevent any further tragedies. Erika's words softly consoled them and greatly admonished them. If a servant had said the same thing, Rudolph would probably have jumped on him. However, since he had come from the lips of the guest, a neutral party, he seemed to reach their hearts. Gently? Ah, okay. My bad.
落ち着きましょう。
Let's stay
ここに
cool.
は成人の
We
男
have
性と
3
3
grown
人
men with us, and
そして
guns
銃を
as
持っ
well.
て犯行の手口を
Judging by
見
the
る限
pattern
り
of the
犯
murders,
人が
the
銃を持って
chances
い
that
る
the
可能性
culprit
が
has a
低い
gun
でしょ
are
う。
low.
つまり
In other
私たちが
words,
しっ
as
か
long
り
as
して
we
いる
keep
限
our
り
heads,
もは
the
や
culprit
犯
will
人に
no
手出し
longer
する
have
余地
any
がない
way
と
to
いうこ
touch
と
with
で
us,
す。
touch us.
彼女の言う通り
She's
だ
right.
後ろ宮の
We
島
can't let the murderer have his way on our island any longer.
探し出そう
Let's find the
この
killer.
台風だ
We're in the middle of the typhoon, of a typhoon. They can't escape from the island, and there's only so many places where they can take shelter from the rain.
この島は案
This
外
island is
狭
larger
く
than
あ
you
りま
think.
せん。残念ですが、
Unfortunately, it would be difficult to search the
島を
island
探
with
すの
so
は
few
難しいで
people.
しょう。何しろ皆さん
After all, you all look ready to shoot the culprit dead on the spot if you were to find them now.
怯えた犯人が
If the culprit has fled onto the dense forest fearing for their lives, we won't find them easily.
そうやな
Right.
おとなしく台風
We
が
should
過ぎ
just
るのを
wait
待って
patiently for the typhoon to pass.
船に警察を呼
Have
ん
the
でもらい
boat call the
島中を
police
徹
for
底
us
的に探し
and
回
let
って
them
もらうのが
thoroughly
いい
search
や
the island.
警察はな
The police are incredible, you know?
何百人も
They'll
来て
bring
くれて
hundreds of people and pick through it with a fine-tooth comb.
いくら穴深い
The
森でもな
forest may be deep, but they'll definitely smoke the killer out.
今一番大事
The
な
most important thing now
これ以上
is to make sure that our beloved family members are not taken from us. Vabbè, ho inventato la frase ma ho detto la stessa cosa.
ルート
Rudolph,
お前に万が一があ
if
った
something happens to
帰りを待つエ
you,
ンジェちゃんは
what will happen to Enji-chan back home?
キリエバトラチキシお前たち俺はまだ打ち明けてねえってのに
Ooh, Kiria, Butler. Damn it. Damn it! I never had a chance to tell you the truth.
クラウスさん
Listen,
きっと
I'm sure that everyone in the cousin's room is extremely agitated right now.
クラウスさんが落ち
If you
着き
show
を取り
them
戻した
that
とこ
you
ろ
have
です
regained your composure, I'm sure that will help them relax a
落
lot.
ち着きを取り戻せると思います。言ってあげてはどう
Would
でし
you
ょう。
mind heading up there?
そうだ
Good
み
point.
んなに
We have to talk with everyone about what we're going to do next.
ゲンジさんとゴーダさん
Please go up with Genji and Goda-san.
シャノンさん
I'm sure that Shannon-san, Kano-san, Kumasawa-san are also very agitated as well.
はい
Yes,
それはもう
yes, I'm sure everyone is quite agitated.
ことでしょう
よろしいのです
Are you certain?
何かお手
Is
伝い
there nothing more we can help you with?
だからこそ
That's the very reason I want you to go with Kraus-san.
何か
I want you there to help him if something happens.
私たちは先に
I'd like for the rest of us to check that everything's locked up here.
すぐに上がりますから
We'll head up soon,
先に行
so
ってください
please go on ahead.
わかりました
Understood.
何かございま
If
し
you
た
need anything,
お呼びく
please
ださい
call us. Genji bowed and nodded to Kraus. Kraus nodded to Erika, then headed upstairs with Genji and Goda. When only men around in a time of confusion, it is easy for a composed member of the opposite sex to control the initiative. Even without the detective authority, she was able to control them quite naturally. Erika had wanted to get rid of the servants for the time being.
よし
Okay,
そうと来たら
in that case,
早速
let's
戸
go
締まりを確認
checking
し
the
ようぜ
locks. Let's go to checking the locks.
問題は
Let's get to
ラウンジの
go.
この大窓やな
Let's get to checking the locks. The problem is the big window in the lounge.
シャッターも
It looks like it doesn't even have
こ
shutters.
こをぶち破ら
If
れ
they
たら
smash
侵入は
this, we
防げ
won't
ん
be able to stop them from coming in.
いいさ
Don't worry, the sound of the glass smashing will be more than enough warning.
蜂の巣にしてやら
We'll turn them to Swiss cheese.
お静かに
Quiet, please.
皆さんに残っ
I
てもら
didn't
ったの
have you
は
stay
戸
down
締ま
here
り
to
の
check
確
the
認の
doors
ためで
and
はありま
windows.
せん。今から言う
Please,
ことを
listen
冷
calmly
静
to
に
what I'm about
聞
to
いて
say.
ください。
When Erika lowered her voice, Rudolph and Hideyoshi realized that she had something secret to talk about. so they brought their ears closer as soon as they regained their composure.
いいですか
You ready?
事件は
This
親族
crime
会議
happened
を
during a
承
short
継中という
break in the
わ
family
ずかな時間
conference.
の間に起こりましたそのわずかな
In
時
that
間中
tiny
に
span of
誰
time,
にも
6
悟ら
people
れ
were
ずに
killed without
6人
anyone
の人間を
noticing.
殺すなど
I can't imagine that that was the result of any haphazard crime.
これは屋敷
This
の
crime
内外
was
の構造を
committed
知
by
り尽くした
someone who knew the
関係
layout
者
of
の
this
犯行で
mansion
す
well, inside and out. Well,
それはない
sure, if they didn't know the inside well, then
かし
but still. Short while ago, they had lambasted Goda, suspecting the servants of having made a blunder. However, they only thought that he had forgotten to lock up, and were attacking him for letting the mysterious culprit sneak in. They hadn't considered that one of the servants they knew so well might have taken those lives with their own hands. Jover, non sappiamo neanche se sono effettivamente morti, non abbiamo ancora la conferma. Quindi confermare che siano morti sul colpo è ancora più distante. No, they hadn't wanted to think that. People can't easily suspect someone they know well of being a killer.
犯行当時
At the time of the crime, the mansion was locked from the inside and only those involved with the family conference existed there.
じゃあ兄貴がキリ
So
たちを
you're
殺
saying
した
that
っての
Aniki
か
killed Kiri and the others?
それとも
Or am I supposed to
秀吉
suspect
兄さん
the
を
Yoshi
疑ってるの
Nisan?
かありえね
It's impossible.
え
Unthinkable.
わしは花から
I never even considered suspecting Kraus Nisan or Rudolf-kun. All of us siblings were happily married. True, the Ushiramiya family may be strict with discipline and money, but that doesn't mean we treasure our own families less than any other family would. Yes,
もちろん
of
それは
course I
信じ
believe
てま
that.
す皆さんが奥
I
さんを
wouldn't
殺す
dream that any of you would kill your own wives. Erika had already received red truth proving that from Butler. Ma porca puppola! Erika had already received red truth proof from Butler that they were not the murderers. So there was no need to argue that point. Kraus, Rudolf, Hideyoshi, and Goda, none of those four was the killer. And yet Erika said this.
しかし
However,
合
what
田さん
about
はどうでしょう
Goda-san?
か親族会議
He
の
was in
間
the servant quarters the whole time during the family conference in a position to act without anyone else's knowledge. Hold on, let's not jump the gun on suspecting Goda-san. He came to bring us drinks in the dining hall during the break. He was with us for a good long while. I can't imagine he had the time to kill 6 people.
しかし
But he might have been able to let the actual killer into the mansion.
そういうことです
Precisely.
合田さん自身は
Goda-san probably
実行犯
didn't
で
kill
はないでしょ
them
う
himself.
しかし
However,
実行犯を
it's
密
very
かに
possible that he
屋敷内に
secretly
迎え入れること
welcomed
は
the
十
actual
分に可能
murderer
でした
into the mansion. Rudolf and Hideyoshi, stunned, looked at each other. They were family. Even the wife of a sibling was still family. The siblings may have harbored hatred for each other, but they could never hated each other's wives enough to kill them. Even although Eva and Rosa were part of the sibling circle of 8, there could be no reason for a sibling to kill any of the others who had died, Natsui, Kiria, Butler, and the young Maria. But to a servant like Goda, perhaps anyone was a little more than a complete stranger. Everyone.
私が使用
I
人を
suspect
疑う
the
点は
servants
2点で
on
す
2 counts.
まず1点目は
First, the
犠牲
victims
者
are
たちと面
familiar
識
with か
がある
them, and there were
かつ
no
いずれの
signs of a
現場には
struggle
争
at
った跡が
any
ない
of the crime scenes.
すべての現場
I'm
は
sure you are
全く
all
乱れが
aware
なか
that
った
none of the
皆
rooms
さんも
were
よくご存知のはずです
the least bit disturbed.
それは俺も思
We
ってた
thought
さ
that
あの
too.
喧嘩慣れした
Kiria
君
used to
が
like fighting.
何の抵抗も
King
な
of Fighting?
く
King of
ばったり
Fighters?
殺されるかってんだ
Kiria King of Fighters, attenzione, confermato. Kiria is used to fighting, like hell she'd get killed that easily without resisting.
相手の指くらいは
That
食いちぎる
woman
女
wouldn't
だぞ
hesitate to bite your finger off.
顔見知りが犯人
It does make more sense if the culprit was someone she knew, who suddenly attacked when her guard was down. Canonico. Kirie King of Fighters.
それを言ったら
Come to
うちの
think
エヴァ
of
も
it,
や
same goes for my Eva.
何しろ武芸百般
She knows a dozen kinds of martial
暴
arts.
漢が襲ってこない
She
こと
spends every day practically wishing for some ruffian to attack her.
そんなあっさ
She
りと
wouldn't
殺さ
have
れ
been
るわけ
killed
がない
off in a snap like that.
なら
And what about Rosa-san in the parlor?
一人娘と
Do
一
you
緒の
think
ロー
she
ズ
would
さんが
allow herself to be easily killed by a stranger without resisting while she had her only daughter with her?
そしてこのことは
And this tells us something else that's important.
大事なこと
Something important?
犯人は一人
There's
じゃな
more
い
than one culprit.
そう
You're
そう
right.
や客間にはロー
Both
ザさん
Rosa-san and Maria-chan were in the parlor.
同時に殺
The
さなかった
culprit must have killed them both at the same time or they have made a hell of a
それ
racket.
を殺せたって
And if they were able to do that, they can't have been just one of them.
ローザはマリアちゃんのことが絡めば
When he came to Maria-chan, Rosa was a quick to anger mother bear.
仮に相手が銃
She
で撃ち
wouldn't
たとして
cower
も
in fear, not if someone pointed a gun at her.
なるほど
I see. So it had to have been people who wouldn't arouse Rosa's suspicion until the last second.
未知の部外者が
I
島に
believe you
紛れ
can
込んで
see
いるという
clearly
考
that the
え
idea of an unknown outsider sneaking onto the island is actually the less realistic.
犯人は
Whoever they
こ
are,
の
they're
島に
familiar
精
with
通
this
した
island,
関係者そして
and there's more than one of them. There is more than one culprit, and they know the island. Erika's reasoning pointed clearly at the ones they should suspect and guard themselves against. Bom,
エリカちゃんは
bing, bom. So,
使用人
you
たちを
suspect
疑
the
ってるっての
servants?
か
はい
Yes.
現状を
Under the
推理し
current circumstances, they are the most suspicious.
彼らを疑う
The
2点
second
目は
reason I have for suspecting them is the fact that the locked rooms were formed with chain locks.
どうして
Why do the chain locks make them
疑わしいんだ
suspicious?
もしチェーンロックのない密室だったら
What if there was no chain lock on the locked rooms? Qua l'ho già capito, senza che lei dica nulla. Perché se non ci fosse stata la chain lock, sarebbe subito balenato in mente a tutti, vabbè, i servant hanno le master keys. Siccome avere le master keys in questo caso non cambia niente, toglie subito come si dice, il suspicion su di loro. Perché se hai la master key o non hai la master key non cambia niente. Sei just as likely to be the killer.
そんなの密室やない
There's
ぜ
not much of a locked room. Anyone could make a room like that with nothing more than a master key.
そういうことか
Yes, I see.
使用人た
The
ちが疑わ
servants
れな
had
い
to
ため
seal
に
them
は
with chains so
チェ
they
ーンでロッ
wouldn't
ク
be
する必要
suspected.
があったってことか
その通りです
Exactly.
チェーンをかけ
By
ること
setting the
で
chain, they don't have to worry about being suspected.
逆を返せ
To
ば
turn it
チェーン
around,
を
if
か
the
ければ
chains weren't
彼
set,
らはスター
they
キーの
wouldn't
所
be
持者
able
は
to avoid
疑いを
suspicions
免れない
since they
の
hold
です
the master keys.
チェーンをかけ
So,
て
the only ones with something to gain from setting the chains are the
使用
servants.
人だけっちゅうわ
連中の肩を持つわけじゃ
I'm
ない
not trying to protect them or anything, but if so, how did they actually set the chains?
外からチェーンを
Is
か
it
けるなんて
possible to set them
で
from
きる
the
のか
outside?
構造的に考えて
Considering how they are
不
built,
可
I
能で
don't
はない
think
と
that
思い
would be
ます
possible.
こんな話ご存
Have
知
you
ですか
ever heard of this story?
マンションの郵便ポスト
Apparently,
に
some
配達する
mailmen who
郵便
deliver
屋さん
to
の中には
apartment mailboxes
たま
are
に針
known
金
to
で作った
carry
ヘラを
loops
持
of
ち歩いている
wires
人もいる
with
そうです
them.
ね
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Apartment mailbox often have similar adjoining boxes around them from nearby room numbers. I heard that sometimes when the mailmen aren't being careful enough, they accidentally deliver letters to the next room over.
マンションのポストは施錠
Those
されていることがほ
mailboxes
と
are
んどで
almost always
間
locked.
違って投
If
函
you
して
put the
しまった
mail
ら
into the wrong
もう
one,
取り出せなく
you
なって
have
しまう
no way of getting it out. In that situation, they are supposed to tell the owner of the mailbox about their mistake, have that person unlock the mailbox for them, and retrieve the improperly delivered mail. However, the resident of that apartment may often be out, and going through that process would be a real pain. Because of that, some mailmen would make a little tool out of wire with a hook at the end. and used that to fish the mistakenly delivered postcard out through the crack of the mailbox.
俺も
I've heard something similar for a friend of mine at a building management company. They sometimes get drunks who lock themselves in a toilet stall and fall asleep. To get them out of there, they stick a thin metal tool to the crack in the door and undo the latch.
そういうことです
Exactly.
どこの業界
All
でも
industries
本来
have
は
little
開けられない
stools that
も
can
のを
easily
教育
open
が開け
things
ら
that
れる
normally
合わせ的な
can't
小
be
道具が
opened.
存在するものです同じものを
It would be
屋敷の
particularly
使用人たちが持って
surprising
い
if
た
the
として
servants of
も
a mansion had.
取り立てて
It
驚くこ
wouldn't
と
be
ではありません
particularly surprising if the servants of a mansion had something of the sort. Good point.
コツさえは
Once you figured the knack of it,
針金で
you
外か
could
ら
probably
チェーンを
set the chain from the outside by
できない
using a
わけじゃ
wire
な
as
さそうだ
well.
確かに
Yes, you can be sure that that is impossible. True, physically speaking, one couldn't say for sure that there existed absolutely no way to set and unset the chain locks from the outside. Chain locks allow for the door to be opened a crack. If a person were to stick something through that crack, they should be able to manage it easily. It was very natural for Rudolph and Hideyoshi to think that way. However, Erika knew better. Though it might be possible in reality, it had been declared with the red truth that these locked rooms could not be constructed from the outside. In other words, it was impossible to manipulate the chain lock from the outside. And yet, Erika was guiding their thoughts to put them under the illusion that only the servants could have constructed the locked rooms. With an air of solemnly revealing some vital point, she steadily steered the situation in the direction she wanted. Everything about her serious face for the last few minutes was an act. No, to put it in other words, it was a detective technique for tricking suspects.
同じ話は
I plan to tell
クラウス
Kraus-san
さんにするつもりです
what I've told
使
you.
用人たち
I'm
の
not
全員
saying
が
that
犯
all
人
of
と
the
は言いま
servants
せ
are
ん
culprits.
しかし
However, it is very likely that one of them is a culprit or has been assisting the culprit.
彼らを隔離
We
し
should split them apart and have people with guns keep an eye on them. Rudolph and Hideyoshi looked at each other again. What she was saying made sense, and it sounded as though she was calmly smoking out the most suspicious people at this point in time. With her accomplished conversation techniques, Erika was skillfully grasping the initiative. Even without the presence of the detective authority, controlling human nature like this is trivial. Your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen? Perfetto, direi che è un ottimo momento per salutarci. Siamo andati un po' oltre, ma... Oh, The Track Cliff Proclamation si chiama.
いかがです